if we're all canon in Warhammer, can I take over the world now, or is that later? Hello and meowdy, everyone! We are back with the Warhammer 40k lore. This one is the Faction Re-Explained, Part 1 by Bricky. I'm super excited to bring you this. I absolutely have been adoring the Warhammer 40k lore. It's been phenomenal. I'm a big fantasy nerd, so this is right up my alley. I am a noob, though, to Warhammer, as you guys might know. If you guys are new here, hi, hello, I'm a Warhammer noob. If you guys would like to see my reactions to the OG videos of these, they are linked down below. And I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me here in this video. I hope you enjoy it. And if you would like to support my content and get all my uncut anime reactions, I'm talking My Hero Academia, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, JJK Season 3, all those fun stuff, they are linked down below. They are over on my Patreon. So make sure you go check it out, sign up over there, and let's dive on into the video.
In the kind brightness of the far past, there was no war. Our galaxy was, for a long time, fairly empty and quiet. The first known species to appear during this time are known only as the Old Ones, cosmic entities that traveled across the galaxy with ease and seeded life through the stars. Shortly thereafter, a new species began to arise. The Necron tier. Evolving under the harshness of a devastatingly powerful star, the short-lived and irradiated Necron tier try to find the secret to eternal life and to be freed from their terrible existence. As they expand through the stars, they find the Old Ones and they plead to them to share the secrets of the universe and grant them purchase from their short and painful existence. The Old Ones respond with a lol and a lamau, and with their
God damn it. I doubt the Old Ones. You know what? Maybe they did laugh on them. Maybe they did.
Immense power. They forced them back to their homeworld. The Necron tier, filled with rage and hatred, make it their duty to get revenge on the Old Ones. A revenge that would come swiftly as a chance encounter with other gods gave them a solution. These other gods were known as the Catan, a race of highly powerful star-consuming entities. Do not fear, young mortals, for we, the Catan, will provide you with the immortality you seek. Come now, won't you shake a poor sinner's hand?
Ayo, press 1 in the chat if you're seeking mortality, or immortality.
Quoted from Mephetron, the Deceiver. The Necron tier accepted the Catan's offer of immortality, but believe it or not, this turned out to be a ruse. A trick. The Catan crafted gigantic furnaces and began the process of biotransference. The Necron tier willingly walked line by line into the furnace engines made by gods who devour stars and had their souls consumed instead. The short-lived, irradiated, and cancer-inflicted race of the Necron tier ceased to be, and the immortal, soulless Necrons remained. Now backed by the immense power of the Catan, the Necrons rally against the Old Ones, and the bitter conflict in the stars at this time is known as the War in Heaven. Despite creating various races and entities to aid them in this battle, the Old Ones are overwhelmed and eradicated down to the last, due to the sheer power of the Catan fat off the souls of the Necron tier, and with an army of unthinkable robotic slaves at their behest. However, the Catan are greedy, spiteful gods.
Who is not greedy in this universe? From my understanding, they're all basically greedy, minus like the few odd ones out.
And when there was no foe worth killing, they turn on each other. The Necrons then put their sights towards the Catan and lay waste to them, securing their freedom. The once subservient Necrons now control their former masters. Worn out and weakened by these wars, the Necrons, under their leader Zarek, the Silent King, lie dormant, with a plan to eventually wake and reclaim control over the galaxy. Over millions of years, empires rise and they fall. The species
Correct.
created by the Old Ones have footholds over the galaxy, but on a pale blue dot in the thick of all this conflict, humanity begins to evolve. And for the most
here we go.
part, the basic path of humanity's evolution remains the same as it is now for almost 15,000 years. Right now, in the 21st century, this is canon. You, right now, Twitch streamer reacting to this video,
Heck yeah!
you existed at a point in the Warhammer universe. But with
Is that kind of crazy to think about? That's kind of crazy to think that you existed at a point in the Warhammer universe. I
time,
don't know.
humanity's ambition and the power of their technology becomes
We're all
unmatched,
canon.
and the golden age of
Hey,
expansion.
if we're all canon in Warhammer, can I take over the world now, or is that later? That might be a later thing, right? I gotta wait. You know what? I gotta create my army first. Okay, let me continue creating my army here on YouTube and Twitch, and then once I get it bigger, we'll take over the world from there. Perfect. I'm coming up with my own faction. Don't worry about it.
Humanity starts to branch out through the stars with powerful tools used for agriculture, mining, and expansion. Some branches of humanity would eventually settle far away from Earth itself, and around this time, the psychic ability of humans are greatly expanded, and what we begin to know as psychers appear. But despite all the progress, things would begin to collapse.
Correct.
The machines created to aid humanity would turn on them in M23, an event known as the Cybernetic Revolt, and trade would begin to collapse due to the immaterial warp, aka actual hell, beginning to cause ruptures in space and time. These warp stones would separate humanity, and this would be what is known as the Age of Strife. The warp, a sea of souls, storing all thought, emotion, and the souls of those who have passed on, begin fluctuating into something terrible, as far on the horizon, something horrendous was brewing. You see, the warp isn't just a random assortment of chaotic energy. It is fairly well organized, thanks to those living in the galaxy. The warp itself acts as an afterlife of sorts, and the actions of the innumerable amount of creatures who live in the galaxy have manifested a pantheon of organized entities known as the Forces of Chaos. At their helm are three major entities: Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Here we go. It's gonna be showtime. They're coming, guys. Like, Chaos Lords are coming.
A fourth one, Slaanesh, was about to be born. The ancient Eldar were one.
You know what? Maybe we should have born Slaanesh. Maybe we should have just kept the other three. No, I'm kidding.
The first species created by the Old Ones, and due to their extreme and unbridled excess, the birthing of Slaanesh tore a hole in the galaxy and forever split the Eldar into those of the craft world, who sought to bring their species back together, and those of the Drukhari, who wished to continue what caused the birth of Slaanesh in the first place. The birthing of this fourth chaos god settled the warp storms of the Immaterium and ended the Age of Strife, but humanity was still fractured. So one man revealed himself and spearheaded an immense attempt to reunite all the fractured pieces of humanity. That man was the Emperor of Mankind.
Let's go,
After
Emperor!
reclaiming the nearly destroyed Earth, the Emperor embarked on the unification wars to unite humanity under the banner of the Imperium of Man. However, due to the very long and devastating impact of the Age of Strife, humanity as we know it is not the same. To reconquer Earth, the Emperor would need more than mere men. Great beings, known as the Thunder Warriors, were recruited by the Emperor to reclaim the Earth with ease. But these warriors are a blunt tool and had, overstayed their welcome. He would need something better, and that solution would be known as the Space Marines. Superhuman soldiers that will have the skill and cunning exponentially greater than the mortal man. These new warriors would be commanded by an elite group of his very own sons known as the Primarchs. Unfortunately, though, Daddy didn't charge the baby monitor.
Daddy didn't look after the Space Marines, guys. Pack it up.
And his 18 sons would be stolen by the forces of chaos and scattered across the galaxy. This would begin the Great Crusade.
Daddy went to go get milk and he didn't come back, and when he came back, his sons were all gone. They all had different plans. They all wanted to rule the world.
Monumental task to take back the stars in the name of humanity and reclaim the lost Primarch sons.
Oh my gosh.
However, he would need the fires of industry to make this happen. Looking to the distant cousins of Mars, the Emperor signed a treaty with the technologically irradiated hellscape of the Red Planet and allowed the cult of the machine god, the Mechanicum, to supply his crusade. While Space Marines were the tip of the spear, their numbers paled to the vast might of the Imperial Army and Navy. The Astra Militarum and their seemingly endless numbers make up the bulk of the fighting force for humanity, supplied by the intelligence and prowess of various agents of the Imperium, such as rogue traders and assassins. Due to the lack of connectivity between the worlds, what a society had become over thousands of years became mysterious and varied. Tools once used for harvesting and agriculture now are being used as machines of war in
Listen. You had to get creative. You know what? Like, you had to get creative. It's not their fault they didn't want to be farmers anymore and they wanted to fight against each other. I don't know.
Of Imperial Knights. Some of these fractures of humanity would even be changed further and become unrecognizable to the average human, with differences in size, skin color, appendages, cat ears sometimes.
Yippee!
Some would go
Shout out to the cat girls in Warhammer!
So far to become their own galactic societies, like the miners of the Galactic Core and their immense supercomputers, forming the Leagues of Votan. After an incredible amount of effort and books, the lost sons of the Emperor would be reunited, and the Imperium of Man would be firmly established. This, however, would not last. Be it intentional or accidental, the Emperor would not reveal to his sons the true nature of the galaxy and the terrors of the warp. And this oversight would result in one of the most impactful wars in humanity's history. The favorite son of the Emperor, Horus.
Why don't we know that it was intentional or not? I guess it's a secret that was never exposed previously?
Would fall to the powers of chaos and turn on his father. This betrayal, this backstabbing, this heresy, this Horus heresy would result in a split in the Imperium with devastating consequences. Half of the Emperor's loyal sons would fall to chaos and become the Chaos Space Marines, along with the forces of the Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knights. The conflict would result in the absolute obliteration.
Okay, so Horus killed the Emperor, right? And he was technically the favorite son. I'm like getting tactical with you guys in chat right now, but I hope you don't mind. Do we ever know why Horus was the Emperor's favorite? Because he was the favorite by a far margin, correct? So I don't know if there's a story behind why he was so favorite and like why he was like the Emperor trusted him so much. Horus is officially found first? Okay, that makes sense. So first come, first serve. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you.
Of Horus and the physical death of the Emperor himself. The near dead body of the Emperor will be placed on the Golden Throne to serve as a beacon of humanity and allow for the continued ability to travel the stars, protected by his most loyal, the Adeptus Custodes. The Imperial...
My bad. Yes, Horus got killed by the Emperor, my bad. But it's in one of the books. That's why I don't know it. I have not read a book at all. Nope.
Vulnerable during this age of rebirth, and Terra would find itself under siege by one of the most formidable species in the galaxy, the Orcs. As time went on and memories of the Emperor's vision began to fade, the Emperor would become less of a head of state and more of a religious figure, and the Imperium would change to reflect this. The leadership on a planet would be at the behest of the High Lords of Terra, and their actions would be courtesy of the incomparable power and authority of the Inquisition. The zealots of the Imperium would intensify and create a brand new era known as the Age of Apostasy. And this ecclesiarchal command of the Imperium would end up with one of the strongest fighting forces of Terra, the Adeptus Sororitas. Over time, this age would come to pass, and we would approach the 40th millennium of Warhammer 40,000.
Bravo!
which, you guessed it, would come with its own form of problems.
Of
a
course.
primitive species once found during a recon mission would be able to evolve in relative secrecy for 6,000 years, becoming a highly advanced coalition of aliens known as the Tau Empire. And if the threats of the galaxy weren't bad enough, there are threats from outside the
But
galaxy.
we love the Tau Emperor, right? Correct? I do know that one. We like Tau. Tau good. Tau good.
As a monster has begun to wrap its tendrils around the Milky Way, the Tyranids, monsters that serve
That's actually my favorite faction. If you guys have watched Bricky and watched my reactions before, I am a fan of the Tyranids. They were my favorite faction from the previous video. If you guys don't know that now, if you guys are only watching this video, now you guys know that fact.
Psychic hive mind and present tactics previously unseen in the Milky Way, be it a direct assault with their monstrous bug-like presence or through the more covert gene stealer cults. The presence of yet another threat in the galaxy is proving to be overwhelming to the Imperium. In the 41st millennium, there is no peace among the stars. At any point, your life can and will be threatened by the Xenos races uncountable, or by the arch enemy of chaos within, or by the decroded terror that is the Imperium itself. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. Forget the power of technology and science, or the safety of promise and understanding. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Damn! That did go hard. You guys were so right. Oh, that went hard. There's always war. War is always happening. Who would have thought the war was always happening in Warhammer? Weird. Coincidence? I think not. That was such a good delivery. That was such a good opening to this video. What a great way. To compare this, I'm not saying his other video was bad. I know a lot of you guys were like, oh, it's so incorrect, whatever. But the difference between his old version and this version is crazy. Like the attention to detail he put into this video, wild. Here we go.
A fantastic job once again, Mr. Kurz, the Night Haunter himself. Oh, didn't you love that, my faithful audience? Once again, we have another criminal over the course of 6 hours break every single bone in his body. And with that, once again, our glorious leader has brought the crime rate to 0%. Always brought to you here on the Strawman News. I'm your host, Bricky. Thank you once again for joining us. Our top stories for tonight. The weather forecast appears to be rainy with extra dark, so make sure you pack those extra batteries for your lamp packs. And of course, let's not forget the fantastic gang violence problem we're currently having. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? Oh, right. It's gone. It's looking to be a chilly one tonight as well, so make sure your skin capes are nice and...
They remind me, his ads remind me of the delivery of internet historian ads.
Tight.
They're like the same vibes going on.
Wait, hold on, one moment. No. Adamantium reserves have tripled? Wait, I'm sorry. Self-harm rates have gone down to 0%.
This could not be.
The Night Haunter smiled? This
Is this an alternate universe?
No. This could only mean one thing. It is the Strawman News' great privilege to bring some color back in your life with the brand new 3-part Gamer Subs drop exclusively on this here news network. That's right, your esteemed host, Bricky, myself, is dropping a 3-part Gamer Subs release for pre-order.
Holy shit, he has a muscle mommy cup. Of course he does. Of course. What would I expect from a Warhammer lore nerd to not have a muscle mommy cup?
Now and only for a couple of weeks.
Goddamn.
Not only does it include a completely brand new artwork reskin of the Sweet 6-pack flavor, one of the highest selling flavors in the entirety of Gamer Subs, but it also comes with the first ever all over print Gamer Subs 32-ounce jug. And if that isn't enough for you, if the phenomenal drink and drink holder is not enough for you, we have a desk mat to go along with it. it. That's right,
Oh.
the Herculean look of the brand new Sweet Six-Pack style is here. We're still looking at muscles beyond belief, but this time we're talking
She's so
pace.
jacked.
We're talking Atlas. We're talking smooth.
I like how brand this is, though.
And if that wasn't enough, I, your co-host specifically, should you pre-order all 3 of these items, will personally hand sign a note for you, thanking you for supporting this network. All of this you can receive for
That's cute.
10%
I like that.
off if you
Heck
go
yeah.
down in the description of this video and click the link, or go to gamersubs.com/Bricky and use code Bricky. Save 10% off with code Bricky.
That's such
Bring
a good
some
merch
color
drop.
back into your life and increase production across the board.
Of course, the
for our
biologist guy, I love
glorious
that. I
leader,
love that.
the Night
I
Haunter.
love the tier.
Thank you, Gamersubs, for sponsoring the Strawman News, and let us move on to our next scheduled program.
Sorry, I should say too, whenever I react to a video, if you guys don't know, I normally always tend to watch the sponsorship or their ad segment, whatever it may be. I know some people skip it. I don't know. I think it's, it's in the video because it supports the OG creator, and I'm watching the OG creator to use for my own content. So it's like the least I can do is watch their ads as well when I'm reacting to one of their videos. You'll see it if you're new here. I react to, I watch a majority of them. I just think it's only fair. They put so much time into the delivery and the creation of these ads and their sponsorships. If you were ever wondering of why we're watching it.
5 years ago, I made every Warhammer 40k faction explained.
Did.
A passion project of mine for a universe that I enjoyed so much. Its main purpose was to be a drawbridge, the separation between the layman who had only ever seen the
Oh my gosh,
big
he looks so different. Holy moly, I'm sorry for that pause, but
armored blue
holy.
man situated neatly next to a Wetzel's Pretzels, and then the hardcore Warhammer lore nerd. That was just too wide.
Yeah.
And there was nothing bridging
Okay.
these two together. Since 2020, Warhammer has exploded in popularity thanks
That's
to
nice.
COVID, quality game updates, and a few excellent video games, and a couple miniseries. The sheer volume of people who have told me they have purchased miniatures due to that video alone makes me feel as if Games Workshop owes me commission. However, that video is incomplete. I was not a casual fan, but I was also not a hardcore lore junkie. In the 5 years since that video's release, multiple channels have sprouted up, and the drawbridge between casual to the obsessed has never been wider or easier to traverse. Even I, myself, have been a part of Adeptus Ridiculous, a podcast teaching lore in a much simpler and
cool.
condensed form. Needless to say,
Oh my gosh, wait. Are these podcast episodes up on YouTube? I feel like maybe we should watch them too, or react to them, or dive into them. I don't know. Maybe on my own time. I don't know.
I've learned a lot. Warhammer is so much more than just Spaceman shoots big gun. It has also grown substantially from its origins, being a Warhammer fantasy spin-off just in space. Now, it is a black library filled with immensely deep characters, difficult themes, and even some tear-jerking stories. It is a backdrop for a million stories over a million worlds, and I did not see its true depth in 2020. But now, I'd like to share what I've learned. We just had a brief summary.
You know what? I love that. I love that he released that first video as what he knew at the time type thing, and he made it very memey. And like he said, there was like a disconnect between that one and the hardcore fans. And he realized that, and he took this video and evolved it to make sure he covers like all of it. Love that.
Of the world and each faction that takes place during it. And we did that because to truly understand each faction, we must understand what makes them the way they are. And to do so, we need to begin in chronological order, discussing their origins, their culture, their powers, and of course, what makes them oh so grimdark. So let's begin with the group that started it all and sing praise to the Infinite Empire.
Yippee! The faction that started it all. Let's go with Necron!
As mentioned before, the Necron tier were the original form of the Necrons, an alien race far away from us that lived short, painful lives due to the irradiation of their star. Normally, this would manifest as like a sort of cancer, a space cancer of sorts. The Necrons are very much inspired by the ancient Egyptian aesthetic, but unlike the windswept dunes commonly associated with it, the irradiated hellscape the Necron tier endured was far from picturesque. This also translates into their height, hierarchy. They are a race of nobles and peasants. Most of the peasants would often live for their very short amount of time, only a couple of decades, while the nobles tended to have better care and would live a little bit longer, but still far less than the average lifespan of a human, even today in the 21st century. The leader of the Necrons was Zarek, the Silent King. He was the one who took the deal with the Catan and the Deceiver. Of course, he wasn't aware of the fact that they were known as the Deceiver at the time, but the whole species was blinded by hate after being debased by the Old Ones on their quest to cure their illness.
That's
the sheer
sad.
pain
So then they hold like what's the word? They hold a vengeance to the Old Ones then? I guess a hatred to the Old Ones because the Old Ones didn't want to help them.
Underwent the Necron race can't be understated, as their fear was manic. The Catan are, of course, gods that eat stars, and when the leader of your species tells you to march into the gigantic green furnaces to ascend to immortality, you march.
Yeah, I was like, you're doing it. Yeah.
Long lines of both the peasantry and nobles clutching their loved ones in a frantic act to save their own lives. Many of them already inflicted in the late stages of this space cancer, some of them crawling into the biotransference furnaces, trying to outrace death itself without realizing death was the one who made these to begin with. What came out the other side was a soulless husk. And I say that literally. A soul is not an abstract concept like it is.
Okay, so then I guess this is how the Necrons were born. They thought that they were being saved when they went towards the stars, but in reality, they're just becoming soulless monsters?
Our world, an immaterial version of oneself discussed and debated in religion and philosophy. No, in Warhammer, a soul is a real, tangible item of oneself.
Okay.
And the Catan basically were just like to every single person who went in their furnaces. If you were a peasant, you came out a Necron warrior, and you as an individual have ceased to be. You have no mind, you have no soul, and your body, as you know it, is made of an extremely advanced mass of re-knitting living metal known as necrodermis.
So then they bamboozled you to become something else for their own gain?
Cannot think for yourself, or you do not have a brain to think with. All you do now is await protocols from your overlords, which are
sounds like the overlords bamboozled you into slavery. I think that's what I'm getting from here.
The nobles who came out of the furnaces with their minds intact, not their souls, mind you, because but their minds are very much intact. These nobles now have command protocols, and they are able to command all of their peasantry and do with them whatever they wish. Zarek, the Silent King, is the most advanced of all the Necrons, a perfect metallic version of himself with incredible power and intelligence. His strength allowed him to lead the undead and the unthinking armies of the Necrons to battle against the Catan when they were at their weakest due to their incessant infighting, and then win back their freedom. But gods cannot die. So in reality, what occurred is the Catan were shattered into thousands of pieces, and each shard of their god was trapped in a stasis vault and mind controlled to do the bidding of the Necrons they once enslaved. The biggest challenge they face now are actually the upstarts of the galaxy. The Eldar and the Orcs were quite prominent, and as you can imagine, a galactic war really takes its toll on the joints, or I guess the servos. It was in their best interest to wait out the galactic rise of the other races and come back at a more opportune time. So they went into stasis via these massive tomb complexes hidden beneath.
They said, yeah, we'll be back when we're needed again. They said, yeah, we've had enough war. We had enough of all of this. We'll be back later. Come get us. Come get us when you need us again.
Various worlds, biding their time until it was once again their opportunity to rule the galaxy. Zarek, the Silent King, as penance for his failure to his people, exiled himself into the darkness between stars for the next 60 million years with his perfect memory a constant reminder of the doom he inflicted upon his people. Flash forward to the modern day, and the Necrons are reawakening, but it isn't working
again.
as well as it could be. Whether the tomb world is reawakened naturally or by some imperial moron stepping on a green glowing rock, the Necrons have come back to reclaim a galaxy they consider rightly theirs.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. I was like, do you think they come back with a vengeance or a plan because they think they were first? So I don't know, they seem to be like on their own little high horse over here.
But 60 million years of hypersleep have taken their toll. Many Necron dynasties awake with systems unrestored and huge swaths of their population's minds completely lost. Necron nobles wake with various mental faculties compromised, sometimes exhibiting traits similar to excessive paranoia, schizophrenia, or even dementia. One notable Necron, Nemesor Zandrek, believes that he is still back on his home planet fighting off separatists and interlopers. See, Oberyn, the separatists come, attempting to outflank me as they did at the 4th Battle of Vindach.
What?
How they calculate that daubing themselves green and roaring like savages will produce a different outcome, I cannot fathom. But it is of no account. Ready, my legions. Another glorious victory shall soon be ours. Other individuals, such as the esteemed...
Their minds are kind of all over the place.
Imhotep the Stormlord seek to usurp the newly returned Silent King for rightful ruler over the Necron race, believing his time has come to an end. While scientists and archaeologists like Trazen the Infinite and Orikin the Diviner spend thousands of years bickering over artifacts and petty squabbles. Truly, the Necrons are a faction of unthinkable, unimaginable power, held back entirely by their own hubris.
The poor Alzheimer's Necron is crazy. That's a crazy sentence, but that's actually, like, it seems like they just got amnesia for being so far gone.
And 60 million years of stasis.
So far
It
long.
is a species that does not know of time, only of the ravages brought by it. A pharaoh of a dynasty may just be as frightened to awake completely mad as they are to be assassinated while they sleep. Thousands of years pass in an instant. There is a play, like an opera play, a retelling of the war in heaven in the Necron culture that takes...
Damn, I didn't know Warhammer had puppet pals. What? Crazy.
40 years to witness. Because...
Jesus.
Why leave? You have no need to eat or vacate your bowels.
Yeah,
you are immortal, but you are soulless. Despite the Necrons' incredible technology, their mastery over time, reality itself, despite all of this, they still are missing a soul.
Yeah.
And therein lies the biggest struggle. Most Necrons look to conquest the galaxy, kill the interlopers like the humans, Eldar, and orcs that scrape at a fraction of their power. But the end goal for many, including Zarek himself, is to return the souls to their bodies, to undo the horrible fate he cast upon them.
I was about to say that, like, it wasn't Sarek the one that set this all up. Sarek made this deal, realized it was bad, and then did oopsies. Let's go to try and redo this all when it was far too late. You'll give up to Sarek.
Not the interest of all. Many simply wish to rule their dynasty with an iron fist and kill all they consider unworthy. But to many others, it is to undo the decision that doomed them all. Before they can do that, there is a pest that needs exterminating. That is the fundamental understanding of the Necrons. They are so hyper advanced that their science borders on magic. They play with the fundamental aspects of reality and time. Their mastery of the physical galaxy is the strongest in the universe. Their weapons reduce people to the barest molecules, and they have devices capable of causing stars to supernova. They are unfathomably difficult to kill, as if you do fell one of their number, the living metal reknits itself and the
I just read that there's a fan theory that he's just trolling. There's no way. I gotta look into this fan theory, because what the heck? I mean, like, it's just wild to me. Like, I get, because he was promised like immortality and all these cool fun things when he went to the star gods or whatever. So of course he did it, I guess. It's just funny that he did it and then they all went through it, and I was like, fuck, like, we shouldn't have done that, guys. Let's try and reverse this.
reanimation
Okay.
protocols allow it to come back alive once again. They're masters of teleportation, and often killing a Necron fully will just have its consciousness translocated back to their tomb world to await reassembly. Normally, they utilize large phalanxes of warriors and honorary combats, but some of them have fallen to various mind viruses. The destroyer cults are hell-bent on killing anything and everyone that lives with an overwhelming force. And then there's the flayed ones, Necrons cursed with I have no mouth and I must scream, a panic attack virus, as the last laugh of Landogo, the Flayer Catan. Slowly losing their minds, they strip apart their foes and adorn their bodies with the skin of their enemies, trying to better return to their old feelings of flesh and blood. The Necrons are a degraded version of their mighty empire and still one of the biggest threats in the galaxy. The only thing keeping them at bay currently is their awakening sickness and their infighting with no care to the timeline. But they are coming. And slowly, they plan to rid this galaxy of the vermin that inhabit it. My people.
You think that? Okay. So the Necrons hated the old people, correct? Like that's why like this is all started. The Necrons, whatever, all that lore. Do you think now the other factions look at the Necrons and it's like the similarity? Like they think the Necrons are now like the old ones and they hate them for being so ancient and old and rooting the party vibes?
The stars and broke mortality when the species you sprang from had barely left the slime pools it spawned in. Our wars burned reality, and the dominion of our kings is without limit. The ground you tread on is not yours. It is ours. The war in heaven was a catastrophic.
I know the old ones are no longer here, but that's why they were like first salty with them. But I'm just like, I shouldn't say the old ones, but it's kind of like a bittersweet thing where you have the Necrons being this old faction, right? And then you have, they come back and they're like, oh, I hate all these new factions. So it's kind of like, do the other factions look at the Necrons and they're like, these old fuckers are back, or what? Time
for the galaxy. And as stated in the above quote, burned reality. Of course, souls exist in Warhammer, and in the case of the Necron tier, they were consumed by the star gods. This begs the question, however, if you were to pass on, expire, as one might put it, where would your soul go? The answer to this is the warp. In Warhammer, a soul is real, and so is hell. The afterlife, the Empyrean, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium, all of these names refer to the dimension parallel to our own known as the warp. Now, the warp is not like our reality. It does not follow the classic normalcy of time and space. It is defined as the Sea of Souls, and it acts like this in a more literal way than you can realize. To imagine the warp is to imagine the sea itself. Hell is real, and you can surf on it. It has a current and can become more dangerous depending on where you go and how bad the weather is. As the Immaterium
the weather affects the warp? What?
The reflection of our reality and of our souls, all thoughts, all emotions, all feeling that goes with a soul is passed on into the warp. If an entire planet decides it's going to engage in a blood-fueled rampage of murder and gore, then the warp around that planet will be affected in a similar manner. It's not something that you can see. It is a parallel, not perpendicular dimension. But it is changed. To expose oneself to the warp for any period of time invites certain death outside of the most iron-willed of individuals, and to stare into it will drive one mad. Much like the open seas, things dwell in the warp. Whether these beings were always there and were just emboldened by the carnage of the galaxy, we can only speculate at. At a time, you could say it was more calm, but a certain faction's galactic war in heaven didn't do it any favors. Now the warp is turbulent, and its realms belong to a pantheon of gods known simply as
the Chaos Gods! Norgal, our
The forces of chaos are beings that serve directly under their patron deity. There are four current gods of chaos at the moment: Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. Each of them represent various facets of and emotions of sentient species.
Yeah, I feel like, you know what? I feel like the warp, as a newbie, guys, I know you guys are experts in the chat, but as a newbie, I'm like, Cool. Warp, parallel dimension to all these worlds. You die, shit happens, you go warp. Bad, not, I'm gonna call them bad. Chaos gods live in warps, lots of chaos in warp. Have fun, good luck.
Play a great game against one another for total control over their realms. Interestingly enough, while their disciples have physical forms, we can understand the Chaos Gods do not have a physical visual that you can perceive in reality. So while there are tons of fantastic fan art, we do not know what they truly look like, though they are conveniently color-coded.
Do you think they're ever gonna release the official artwork for the Chaos Gods? Do you think that's ever something that you guys will receive?
Is the god of blood and murder, carnage and slaughter. He is the one who is most powered by the wholesale killing of any living thing. For Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. With a sacred number of 8, he is the lord of all things involving killing and blood and gore. The champions are extremely strong as well, with monumental muscles and extremely large weapons. A true analog to Khorne would be his greater demon, the Bloodthirster, an enormous muscle-bound flying devil with an axe so large it splits tanks in a single swing. They move into battle with armor of brass adorned by the skulls of their foes and pools of freshly spilt blood. This may appear to be quite frightening, of course, demonic, one might say. But in the world of chaos, all emotions feed one of these.
Wait, Khorne is the blood for the blood god. Was that Khorne from the last one? Is this him? That's his
Gods
saying?
in one way or another. If you were to define Khorne with single words, you would use blood, carnage.
Guys, look, I retained information. Oh my god.
Skulls. But you'd be missing out on important ones like strength, honor, prowess, courage, and skill. Khorne is not just about the wholesale slaughter of people. He is about the honor and power of martial combat. The true strength there is in besting someone in physical strength and skill. Of course, a murderer would be someone who would feed Khorne, but a soldier could feed Khorne. A martial artist or professional fighter could feed Khorne. A warrior, good or bad,
anyone can feed him.
A diplomat does not. A premier soldier does. A GoFundMe does not. This is what leads many mortals down the path.
You're telling me Warhammer didn't have GoFundMe? What? Guys, can you fund my war for me? I gotta kill these people.
For he will bless those that bring him enough skulls. And in a world this destructive, there are many ways to reap a high tally for him. Prepare the dread claws and unchain the mad ones. Glorious battle awaits us today, for the world below has refused to surrender. Let us descend upon them with fury and rage, giving no quarter and sparing only those warriors who fight well enough to earn a place amongst us. As to the rest, their lives and possessions are ours, but their skulls are for Khorne. Normally, if I ever want to explain Khorne, I just kind of show them this clip.
I'd never stab you in the back, Shepard. Warriors like you and me, straight to the face.
Damn.
Moving on, Zeke.
Okay, yeah, that's a good explanation. He said, yeah, I ain't no pussy. We do this man to man. Bye-bye.
Is the second god, the god of trickery and mischief, the changer of ways, the great conspirator and the architect of fate. With a sacred number of 9, Tzeentch is truly the god of change in all of its forms, but there is an obvious undercurrent of mischief and cunning. Tzeentch is such a liar that his pants have gone thermonuclear.
What? What does this even mean? He's gaslighting?
His favorite
Gaslighting boss?
pastime is asking questions that have no answers while simultaneously...
God damn it, he's gaslighting boss.
making up answers on the spot to a question he didn't ask.
Have you ever had a dream that you could do so?
Imagine your leader just coming up to you, ask you this, but you can't be mad at him because he's your god, and you're just like, bro, what the fuck, bruh.
You want him to do you so much you could do anything?
He is such a conniving little bastard that every emotion of
my
lying, of
God.
scheming, of trickery is a direct way to help feed him. An unfaithful partner,
Interesting.
a politician, a spy. All these people feed Tzeentch in one way or another, and it doesn't matter if the intentions are good. Acceptance does not feed Tzeentch. Change does. Tzeentch doesn't care about your facts. He only wants opinions. Because he represents change, he also represents hope, though. Schemes are not always bad,
What?
and even the hope to make a better tomorrow is the change he seeks. Because he is the architect of fate
So
and the
he represents hope because he schemes so well that he gives hope to people with his scheming? Huh.
mastery of sorcery, his presence is purely unknowable. Every depiction of a Tzeentchian demon contains more eyes than are necessary and more mouths than I know what to do with. It is a biblically
Bruh.
accurate angel if the angel gaslit you into thinking birds are government drones. But are they? The creatures at his disposal adorn themselves with the knowledge of sorceries and the unknown, all to provide a mind-crushing experience. Fighting demons from outside of our reality is difficult enough, but fighting demons from unreality, purposely attempting to trick you, is a whole new thing entirely. And that is before we even get started on the gigantic bird of sorcery you're going to need to face. Do not ask which
the heck is
creature
this?
screams in the night. Do not question who waits for you in the shadow. It is my cry that wakes you in the night, and my body that crouches in the shadow. I am Tzeentch, and you are the puppet that dances to my tune.
Listen, I'm getting more than this. Majority, summary, quick summary, gaslight girl boss Siege. That's what I'm
Third
getting.
of the Chaos Gods
That's
is
what I'm
the
getting.
one of
Oh, we love
acceptance of
Norgal.
rot and pestilence, the grandfather himself, Papa Nurgle.
Yeah.
Nurgle is the exact opposite
Everyone loves Nurgle. I know that one.
of Tzeentch. Where Tzeentch believes in change and hope for a future, Nurgle believes in stagnation and the end of everything. At one point or another, we will all decay. We will all rot, and we will
Bye-bye.
all end. And with a sacred number of 7, every single thing, pestilence, boil, and everything in between, comes under the great shadow and girth of Nurgle himself. For Nurgle, the plight of mortals is his fear and wine. And no matter how solid life might be, everything will decay in the end. In the creation of life,
Everything
there must
bye-bye.
be an end to that life. And nobody has more creations to end lives than Grandfather Nurgle himself. Every boil, every blemish, every pus-filled wound and disease, every rot and every plague is kept and concocted by Nurgle. This humorously keeps
Interesting.
Nurgle as a jovial god. He is full of life and laughter, and by creating as many diseases as he possibly can, he shares that joy with mortals. I mean, his envoy is
So he creates all these diseases, and because he wants everyone to rot, basically, correct? If you have, sorry, I don't know how to phrase this. If you're a follower of Nurgle, are you affected by his disease? Like, does he give a fuck? Because I feel like a lot of them don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, they're there and they just want to cause chaos. That's why they're all chaos gods. Or like, is he nice? I doubt he's nice. I doubt there's some circle bubble thingy reach around this, but I'm just wondering, because or he's like, fuck it, disease all, I don't care if you support me, I don't care if you're loyal to me or not.
the great unclean one. And look at how happy he is. And there's a lot,
That's happy
a
face?
lot of him to love. A fear of death.
His followers are diseased, but he shields them from the pain and turns it into joy. Oh, so he does just cause... Okay. So he does cause disease to everyone, but if you are following him, he's like, yeah, you know what? I know I diseased you, my bro. It's okay. It won't hurt. It won't hurt. That's him. I'm tracking. Yeah.
In general is feeding Nurgle. All disease makes him stronger, but to pray for salvation for a wounded loved one is to feed Nurgle. The timeless and inevitable fear that one day you will rot and decay is what gives him strengths. The Peloton won't feed Nurgle. Licking the doorknob on a public bathroom certainly does. However, should you
Yummy.
embrace your grandfather's gifts, you may find an end to your pain. Maybe. All mortal
okay,
followers of the
okay.
Chaos
Here we
Gods
go.
found themselves there in one way or another, either through the direct worship or the slow corrupting of their souls. But those that take Nurgle's gifts and embrace the decay of their bodies may end up being chosen among his few as a faithful servant. In doing so, you will be free of the pain caused by Nurgle's ailments, and you may even find
So a select few get this. Okay,
yourself just as jovial and happy as he is. Maybe. His enemies shall wither and die. His allies shall wither and die. The universe
Well, there
and
it
all
is.
within
His
it.
enemies shall wither and die. His allies shall wither and die. But if you are at a like a loyalty level or a special level or whatever, he will grant you a painless. You will still be diseased and you will still die, but you will die not with pain. Got you.
Shall
Got
wither
you. Got you.
and die.
I mean, at least he's respectful and doesn't put his followers in pain if you're at that level, I guess.
And when the great corruption has settled over the land and permeated the very foundations of reality itself, then shall the Lord of all rise from the rot and ruin, spread his arms wide to reclaim all of his dutiful
That's right. And when the great corruption has settled over the land and permeated the very foundations of reality itself, then shall the Lord of all rise from the rot and ruin, spread his arms to reclaim all his dutiful children. I mean, he'd still claim them all. I guess
Those
it's nice of him.
were the three major chaos gods
Yeah,
for a
look at
very
Slanesh.
long time. Emboldened by
So, guys, if I go lick a doorknob in the bathroom, I can become a follower of Nurgle or what? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Do not do that. Do not follow my footsteps. Do not listen to me.
war and death on a galactic scale, ever present, but now fact on the suffering of a galaxy. One race, for a while, was able to elude the pull of chaos, an advanced race of psychically attuned aliens whose master over the physical world was so strong that chaos could not glean from them the morsels of power they once had, or so they couldn't, not for a long while. 60 million years ago, in an attempt to combat the Necrons in Catan, the Old Ones made a new species. One with innate power in the warp and the ability to harness it with a mastery that was unseen by so many others. A mastery so powerful, the Necrons retreated to sleep in order to wait it out. It was no longer a galaxy to be ruled by them, but instead begin the age of the
Elder.
The Eldar are a race of pointed-eared humanoids that are all psychically attuned to the warp.
Well, these
If we're
are all
being
like
meta here,
the clown-looking people. Whoa! You want pizza? You need to lick all the door. No, do not go licking doorknobs. That was a joke. Chat, no.
these are space elves, and these elves ruled the galaxy in the time the Necrons went to sleep and humanity began to rise. The Eldar's empire was galaxy-wide and lasted
Yo, sorry for pausing, but thank you so much for the 20 gifted Jack. Thank you.
for longer than any
thank you.
other galactic power that we know of. Their understanding of all things was exceptional. With every single one of them being psychers, they had the ability to master the warp and use it to their advantage. See, being a psyker is basically like being a wizard, or I guess in this case it's more of a sorcerer, since you are born with the gifts as opposed to learning them. In order to utilize your psychic abilities, however, you must then reach into the other dimension, into the warp, into hell for that power. So if you were to say, cast Fireball, your mind would reach into the warp, gather the strength to rewrite reality, to then cast Fireball. Now, you might think to yourself, doesn't that mean if you are opening up a power to the warp, you may create a lot of risk to yourself because of all the horrible things we just talked about in the warp? Yes. However, in Warhammer 40k, willpower is a real, tangible thing, in the sense that in its own right, it can be weaponized. Being strong of will means being strong of soul, and being strong of soul means you can resist the pull of the warp that much more. A more inexperienced psyker opens up a hole into the warp that is large, and that hole widens to get more power, allowing evil things to get in. Powerful psyker
Is there a limit to this hole? How big this hole can widen?
is able to open a very small hole, but with immense force to get the same amount of power, with less risk. The Eldar are master psychers. Every single one of them can call upon the warp, and over millions of years they have perfected it so much so that they can weave structures out of it. In some species in the galaxy, they utilize the warp itself for interstellar travel. The Eldar ain't having any of that noise. How about we utilize a fancy alternative mode of travel that is substantially safer than the old ones created, called the Webway? What about dying? Miss me with that.
What?
We no longer age. And if we do, we can just be reborn like that. Food, water, materials, we make things out of distilled warp essence itself. We sing unreality into cathedrals to dine.
Bro, they literally were just like, you know what? We're done with dying. It's okay. We're going next. Thank you so much for the super over at YouTube too. I appreciate it. Wow. Okay.
What truly could the Eldari Empire possibly fear?
What? Psychers sometimes
The
just
Eldari
explode?
Empire's biggest fear was themselves. With a
Yeah, that makes
society
sense.
so perfect, they wanted for naught. And this led them down dark and dangerous paths. When the base functions of society are no longer a problem for you, you tend to experiment. Perhaps the medium rare steak on your plate would be better if it was elf meat. Hey, I'm not saying we should make cannibalism legal, but like, what's the issue with a little taste? Violence.
Chat, would you try elf meat in that? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Sports is one thing, but how come we don't do sports to the death? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if both participants are willing and clear about it, like, what really is the problem there, you know? Art is in the eye of the viewer, and what is considered art is completely up to the concept of one's own interest. A canvas adorned with the blood of a man wronged is truly the visual poetry that our society needs. Hedonism, with a slow and consistent hedonism, the Eldar slid backwards into debauchery of the sort I cannot discuss on this YouTube video. Murder on stage, delicacies and drugs distilled from one another, the trade of slaves and concubines, and much worse. The Eldar physiology has their emotions heightened, and they can feel more than a human does. So while it can provide lows of pure despair, it can also provide greater highs.
So they're on drugs. Their emotions are basically like being on drugs.
Than you have ever known. And swinging between the two of them was the Eldar
or they're bipolar,
game.
I guess.
The warp took notice of this heavily, and it began to react. On a galactic scale, the debauchery and the hedonism of the Eldar race caused levels of warp storm so pronounced and so volatile that it cut off interstellar travel for all those who used it. Communications between planets was removed, and a nightmarish era of old night began. This continued for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. The Eldar all but removed from the problems being caused as they entered heights of more and more ecstasy. They needed more.
They're second phasing.
And more. Nothing was ever enough. More.
He's greedy. They're greedy. That's what I'm getting. They're greedy, extra greedy.
Murder, more torture. It's art, it's delicacies, it's life. This silence offends Slanesh.
Wait. Offense Nash. Offend.
Levels of warp storm so pronounced and so volatile that it cut off interstellar travel for all those who used it. Communications between planets was removed, and a nightmarish era.
Well, we're listening to this rant again. Sorry, not sorry.
Of old night
it was, you know what? It was just so
this
good.
continued for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. The Eldar all but removed from the problems being caused as they entered heights of more and more ecstasy. They needed more and more and more. Nothing was ever enough. More murder, more torture. It's art, it's delicacies, it's life. This silence offends Slanesh.
Okay, yeah.
Wait.
Get cooked. Yeah, wait. We did it. We didn't do this part yet. Now we do this part. Now I see why we do this part, because this whole race just singly-handed offended Chaos God.
Slaanesh, the prince of pleasure, she who thirsts, the god of unspeakable excess, is our fourth chaos god with the sacred number of 6 adorning their title. Slaanesh is a bit of a tricky one, because with our other 3 chaos gods, there was a certain understanding of human emotions and desires, but for Slaanesh, that desire is how they get their power. The words to be used would be decadence, pleasure, perfection, passion, excess, and many others. The pursuit of more.
The pursuit. This is what happens when you're greedy, guys. Guys, you cannot be greedy or else you're going to summon this chaos god, okay? The chaos god will be pissed at you if you are greedy in your life.
Want to do more, experience more, become more. That's what gives Slaanesh their gifts. A lot of people believe that Slaanesh is something that originates with sex, specifically, and it makes sense why they assume that. The visuals of Slaanesh patrons are all very lithe and sexual, but they are also intentionally androgynous to appear attractive to a variety of intrigues. However, to think that Slaanesh specifically derives from sex would be mistaken. While it is true that a lot of humanity's actions can relate to getting laid, and Slaanesh is the dark prince of desire, it's more on the lines of feeling an excess of an emotion. It is excessive touch and scent and desire, and a lot of that has to do with sex. That's why it looks like sex, but it's more than just that. A patron of the arts may feed Slaanesh, one that aspires to become the perfect chef or master of their craft, and the sheer pursuit of that alone will feed Slaanesh. Whiplash is Slaanesh's absolute favorite film. Videos where people beat Elden Ring on a dance pad feed Slaanesh.
You're telling me if you beat it on a dance pad, it feels what?
No 2 words in the English language more harmful than good job.
Okay, guys, time to lock in. I can't wait to see all of your guys' playthrough on the dance pad for Elden Ring. Please tag me in your videos.
But is there a line?
No, man, no.
This also moves into the concept of feeling. Sensation is a majorly Slaanesh-coded thing. It might start off feeling good, but then you get to play around a little bit, you know? You play with a little bit of pain. Light pain might not be enough, so you might want more. Or inflicting the pain could be your jam. Music can increase to volumes that may hurt your ears, and even then that might not be enough. More.
What?
You must have more.
Everything in
Many
excess.
of the disciples of Slaanesh carry a demonic form in their lithe grace. The keeper of secrets is his chosen envoy, and their movements are a blur of dance and pain with an aura all the more fatal. They dance and sing, but there's always a form of malice behind every action they take. An alluring gaze that will pull you in right before the demonic entity can crush you in that grip. Slaanesh's palace has 6 layers surrounding it, and one of them is the excess of gluttony, where the participant finds themselves in a beautiful banquet full of the most delicious foods imaginable. Tables of delicacies and rivers of wine tempt the user to such a degree that they cannot stop stuffing their face, unaware that the things they are eating are very vaguely familiar meat. If one does not see themselves drowning in the river of wine, they may soon fill their bodies up so much that they cease to function and fall over, becoming part of the banquet themselves. That is one of these 6 layers of Slaanesh's palace. This was the ecstasy that the Eldar civilization indulged in for millennia, and did so at a monumental scale that they created a god from it. Find pleasure in every moment, indulge in every whim, let lesser races feel the burden of their crude lives. We are beyond such concerns or worries. Every power is ours to use, every sensation ours to experience. We are truly masters of the galaxy, and all others exist only to satisfy our curiosities. We have earned our position of power. Let us forever taste the fruits of such achievement. Time itself is ours to command. We are eternal.
So, excuse me? I went to go pause on the quotes. What is this? Okay, the gang goons come Satan. Wowie, wooey, wowie. I was about to say, so it's literally like everything is bigger and better in excessive, holy moly, sorry, excessive and obsession. That is Slanesh. Yeah, I'm sorry for pausing here. My bad. I didn't realize this was going to be the pause.
With the birth of Slanesh, the Eldari Empire ceased to be. A catastrophic event so horrible that the warp ripped a hole permanently in our reality, a fissure forever known as the Eye of Terror. With the sudden inhalation of this god's largest breath, the Eldari souls are a currency to be now collected by she who thirsts. Trillions of Eldar died in an instant. Slanesh gorging on their souls to satisfy his palate. 99.9% of their—
Does that mean that Slanesh is never satisfied either? They always keep going above and beyond and are obsessed with excessive, right?
entire species died, and the rest are
That's
doomed
exactly what this
to a
means.
fate worse than death.
Entire species
For Slanesh
dies?
now stakes a claim on each and every Eldar soul. From the moment they pass on, an eternity of torment awaits them. The remaining Eldar devote their entire lives to stopping this eventuality. Their dying race, so devoted to saving themselves.
Is this not them seeking the consequences that they had, though? They were living such extraordinary luxury lives that this is what it came to, and now they're reaping what they sow.
From the Dark Prince, and in doing so, have found very creative ways. In the modern world of Warhammer, the craft world Eldar are the main force of Eldar in the galaxy and represent the elf style that many think of when you think elves in space. Fantasy elves in space, not those elves. We'll get to them. A craft world is a monumentally large starship, the size of a continent, that acts as a form of flotilla. During the highest reaches of hedonism, many Eldar saw the demonic writing on the wall and began to try and seek asylum from their own debauchery. Those Eldar left on monumental craft worlds into the far reaches of the galaxy and saved themselves from Slanesh's awakening. The main thing the craft world Eldar seek is to temper their minds and bodies in a way that will never allow them to slide back into their old ways. The representation they carry is that of a more feudal Japanese motif. Eldar follow paths as they age, the path of the warrior, the seer, the poet, the diplomat, the bone singer, and so on. These paths are a strict code of conduct to hone the heightened Eldar psychology down a school of thought and action. And if it sounds a hell of a lot like Bushido, well, you're damn right. Here's a medal and a soul stone. Don't lose it or an eternity of torment awaits you. Going through these paths will allow you to take
Do you get to pick your path? Or you are like, when you're born, I guess when you're created, I don't know, either born or created, you're just throwing down one of these paths.
Not just a role in Eldar society, but keep your mind clear from the past worries that plagued them. Every Eldar is said to be a psyker, however, very few of them actually utilize their psychic powers for fear of tempting she who thirsts. A large amount of emphasis is also put on ancestors of the Eldar and learning from them the farther you go down a path. This can sometimes be seen by the large variety of jewels adoring the armor of Eldar. Those are called soul stones, the biggest middle finger to Slanesh they can think of. See, when an Eldar dies, these stones act as a backup, and instead of their souls going to Slanesh, they are then trapped and stored in this little stone.
So their souls don't go to the warp. Yo! Damn! They're big braining it over here.
Or say they commune with their ancestors, they mean so very literally, as the spirit and soul of generations before them are stored here. Often larger structures may contain vast amounts of soul stones, such as the Infinity Circuit in the craft world itself, allowing the souls of the dead to help power their enormous starship. The young do not desire the discipline of the path, but rather their curiosity drives them to try every fruit from the tree. Thus, it is that so many take the path of wandering or the path of damnation in their first years of adulthood. And so, the great tragedy of our kind is played out again and again as the number of our people shrink from generation to generation. The
internet shows the path rather because Asti drives them to every fruit from the tree. against the number of our path to... Okay.
As the number of our people shrink from generation to generation. These paths, when completed, allow an Eldar to move to the next one.
So they're just mastering
However,
everything.
since this is the grim darkness of the world, many of these paths rely on combat. The Eldar
so they
actually had gods at one point. Cain, Vol, Isha.
Okay.
Azaryan, and so
Why
on.
is there a
These
jar?
gods are aspects of the Eldar pantheon, and while many were killed in Slaaneish's creation, their teachings live on. For some, the strongest devotion to the Eldar gods is to join the Aspect Warriors and embody the wrath of Cain, their god of war.
Okay, don't worry about it. Okay.
While guardians of the Eldar craft worlds are more akin to a trained militia, the Aspect Warriors embody a particular variant of the path. Each are led by a Phoenix Lord, a name passed down from generations and embodying the souls of prior Phoenix Lords with each new one. The Howling Banshees, led by Jane Zar, Fugin and his Fire Dragons, Baharoth and his Swooping Hawks, or Malgan Ra and his Dark Reapers. Each Aspect Shrine carries with it the Eldar way of war. Fast, hard-hitting, and incredibly tricksy, for they do not have the numbers to fight in any other way. The Craftworld Eldar show how mangled an empire can be by their own actions. They once ruled the galaxy in an honest, non-hyperbolic way, but in the end, they were bested by themselves. And their most prominent remnants are forced to drift aimlessly through the galaxy, trying to save their species from extinction and resist the temptations of she who thirsts. But for some, the party, it's just beginning.
For who? The Trump Czar?
Deep within the webway is the city of Kamara. This dark city once existed as a port in the webway that allowed for ease of transport for the Eldar between its various domains. The significance of this city meant that it needed to be a bit more of a neutral territory outside of the jurisdiction of general Eldar law, and therefore it was allowed to self-govern.
These are I don't know the word, the painful people. The crazy people. Oh, well, they're kind of all crazy, but those people.
The Dark City became the hideaway for all
the
manner
criminals
of
and
sin.
stuff.
The Eldar race slipped into debauchery on a galactic scale that it birthed a god, and this was the city you went to when that wasn't enough for you. The convenience of being so deep within the webway was that it exists as a blind spot to the horrors of the warp. So while the rest of the Eldar fled,
I remember. I think these are. Well, I don't know exactly. I did watch the faction videos too and stuff, and like we watched a couple already. But I remember there was like this one faction where they're like the criminals and they like torture all like their buddies and stuff. And I think it's like this one, the dark people.
Downfall of their species, Kamara kept partying. When Slaanesh was birthed, they were saved the worst of it, thanks to them being nice and neatly tucked away inside the webway. But only somewhat. The Dark Prince did not have a grip around their soul, but the tiniest pinky finger, and they were still pulling. But due to their excess hedonism, they found a solution to this problem. If they tormented others, they could temporarily rejuvenate their souls and continue to cheat their inevitable death by placating the Prince of Pleasure. And if they kept this up on the regular, they could effectively become immortal. Thus, the Drukhari were born. Unlike the more stoic elves you see in works of fiction, the Drukhari themselves exist as a sort of analog of the more grim and fiendish elves you find in Norse and European mythology. The Drukhari are soul vampires, but the more basic means to feed are hardly enough to keep them going. This desire to feed is known as the thirst, and to quench it effectively, they have mastered the art of biotechnology and dark sciences to really juice themselves up on the crispy soul sprite from the vending machine called the Galaxy. The majority of Drukhari act as pirates and raiders and slavers. They go into our physical reality and drag people back to Kamara to commit atrocities that go beyond any imaginative torture.
So then they're just ruthless. They're on their own agenda. They don't care for anyone else's agenda.
human can think of. The Drukhari are organized in various groups throughout the Dark City to accomplish this in a more organized and extremely brutal way. The Cabals act as the main warriors.
So then if they're stealing other people, probably from other civilizations, other groups or whatever, are they like hated by everyone? Like they have no allies. Everyone's just like, yeah, F these people down here.
Of the city led by their archons. Witches and succubi act as entertainment for Kamara in gladiatorial arenas, and the flesh crafting homunculus keep the Drukhari alive
gosh, it
and
keeps getting
discover
worse.
ever increasingly more painful ways to torment their ever increasingly large supply of slaves they are brought. The Dark Eldar see the other inhabitants of the galaxy as little more than cattle, livestock that can be brought to bay or slaughtered.
Right there. When they don't even see someone as a person, they see it as like a cattle, as a not a civilization or whatever. You know it's bad when.
At any time. Their fodder, however, is not meat and muscle, but the anguish and despair of the weak. The Dark Eldar do indeed drink blood, but also tears, and most sustaining of all, the raw essence of pain they wring out of their captives. The truth of the matter is that Drukhari sustain themselves on the suffering of others, not just morally, but physically. Kamara is a city rife with backstabbing schemes and murder. It is the worst back alleys of the worst ghettos at the best of times. Nothing is more horrifying to a Drukhari than death, for death will see them in the talons of Slaanesh for an eternity of torment. So they do everything they can to stop this. The homunculi covens regrow dead members from pieces of flesh as bargaining chips. The succubi create grisly gladiatorial spectacles that literally rejuvenate the audience members as captives are murdered for sport. To be captured by the Drukhari
They sound so scary.
is one of, if not the worst fate imaginable in the world of Warhammer 40k.
Wow. The worst fate possible. And this is already a messed up world.
In a universe built on war crimes, they are the most debased war crimers of all time. To be tortured and sacrificed in the gladiatorial arenas is a blessing, for you have escaped the fate of being in the flesh smith's control group, or being turned into a living and breathing piece of furniture for an Archon's quarters. In a cruel twist of fate, a newly born Drukhari does not arrive into this world loving torture. It is something they must grow to love. Grow to appreciate the suffering of other beings in order to survive in the world they have been brought into. If they succeed, they become some of the worst monsters in the known galaxy. A dark reflection to the craft worlders and a taste.
So you know what? That kind of makes it more messed up that it's kind of a test from birth if you can survive and make it in this world. Because at that point, you know it's only the darkest of the darkest surviving and making it to this point. You know what I mean? Like, it's only the most messed up like characters, people, whatever, who make it to that point.
Of what Eldar society was like before the fall. If they do not succeed, they must find purchase elsewhere. Often those will join smaller parts of Eldar society like the Exodites or the Harlequins. Exodites believe in a pre-industrial variant of their society, often retreating to more lush worlds to ride dinosaurs and live off the land.
That
Prehistoric
sounds cool.
style that I would normally laugh at if they weren't riding dinosaurs like ballers. The Harlequin dancing troupe are a subsect of Eldar that are more than just a little strange. A carnival of dancing jesters that serve the Eldar laughing god of Kegarak.
I like the Dino Riders.
They arrive never when expected and leave just as quickly. Blurs of light carry their footsteps as they dance their foes into a grave. Combat is just as much of a joke as it is a play on bloody murder. They travel and aid many other Eldar and sometimes even humanity for reasons we can never understand.
Weird.
Perhaps one day we would have, were they not stripped of their army book and folded into the Eldari Codex. So I suppose it'll have to stay a mystery, or maybe it was one of Kegarak's master plans to get back at She Who Thirsts and save their species. Who could know?
Copium.
Perhaps it was all a sick and practical joke to Kegarak, and he would just find it very funny to watch me fumble the discussion of one human on a tiny blue planet across the galaxy.
One human, tiny blue planet.
Oh, speaking of.
The
Before the fall of the
Man.
Eldar, Earth, or Terra, as it's called, was in ruin. One man who looks to put the pieces back together. Where did he come from? We don't know.
Oh.
Some say he was the result of early shamans. Some say he is the final old one who escaped their species' genocide. And those that are smartest know the answer is, it doesn't matter. He revealed
He's just here. He's here. We don't ask questions. We just follow along.
himself as the Emperor of Mankind, and he was tasked with the most monumental upheaval of humanity possible. The Eldari's warp fluctuations had turned the golden age of humanity into old night. Interstellar travel cut off? Check. An AI uprising?
Check.
Brand new psychers popping up and not knowing how to handle their powers? Oh, check. Demonic incursions? Check. Thousands of years this occurred, and now the Emperor of Mankind showed himself to put the pieces back together. Unifying Terra under his rule, the Emperor founded the Imperium of Man and ruled it with an iron fist. He was the
So they're
supreme
strict.
leader, and nothing could stand against him. He wished to
Until-
remove mankind from the yoke of its former failures, and he knew he would be the best leader they could have because he was right. AI banned, religion banned. You did as the Emperor told
I
you.
guess like he's kind of like this mysterious figure that showed up, right? Big, mighty, mysterious figure at that, not just like a random. Like he has the aura to back himself up. So I guess so. I guess you just willingly follow him and do whatever.
Or his Thunder Warriors would put you in your place.
Yeah.
That place often being a grave. Now
Oh.
Terra was thriving, but humanity needed
Okay.
to reclaim its long
That's one way. That's one way to get a population to listen to you. If you don't listen, you're dead. I guess there's no saying in that, guys.
lost brethren scattered
Weird.
across the stars. But to do so, he needed those that could build him a fleet truly meant for the reconquering of the galaxy. And so he turned his attention to the red planet of Mars.
Adeptus.
Mars and Terra were close allies long before the Unification Wars. Mars was the first world terraformed by humanity and became what would ultimately be the first hive world, an epicenter for industry and technology. The Age of Strife did not treat the Red Planet kindly, however. Mars was cut off from Terra during this time, and the
Bye,
warp storms that
Mars.
ravaged the planet turned it into an absolute nuclear hellscape. Those who were on the surface were turned into your run-of-the-mill mutant if they even survived the bombings they inflicted on themselves, but others were lucky enough to escape beneath the red sands in powerful fallout shelters. These became their generational habitats, but this resulted in extreme reliance on technology and those who
Oh.
could use it. They began to view the technology keeping them alive less
So
as a
technology
technological
advanced.
advancement
Oh.
and more of a divine intervention, with those skilled in it as priests. The Martians began
Priests?
to worship the power of the machine, and this resulted in the formation of the
Oh.
cult Mechanicus, the belief in a holy trinity known as
I
the
see.
3-in-1. The machine
see.
god, serving as the spirit who gave rise to all technologies known.
All hail the
The
machines.
motive force, the deity that gives all life its ability to
Bro,
live.
this is the type of faction that gets wiped out by their own machinery.
And the Omnissiah, a physical manifestation of the machine god
Sorry.
itself. This belief began to manifest in them physically as well. What were once humans began to really mess around with the character creator options, and this tech obsession made them view instances of flesh to be weak and spend their lives
If they are all about technology, then I don't know if this is true or not. If they're all about technology, they have probably the most advanced technology within the world, right?
moving what makes them human
Maybe, or
and
one of
replacing
them?
it with mechanical augments, robotic limbs, glowing eyes, mechadendrite arms.
Yeah,
What was
they're
once
cooking
a
over
mass
here.
of flesh now looks
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
back
yeah.
of a router, and the oldest members of the Mechanicus no longer even look slightly
Oh, yeah,
human.
they're cooking,
In addition to
okay.
this, cloaked over all of their mechanical appendages are robes that reflect the color of their homeworld, the red robes of the Mechanicus. The cult
Nice.
Mechanicum, now
That's a
the
cool
Adeptus
touch.
Mechanicus, create a fascinating combination of cultures all birthed into one. Basically, techno-zealot monks. Organic life is the machine god's greatest accomplishment within the scope of the great work. All praise he who is 3 in 1. By giving us life within an organic shell, he presents us with the means and opportunity to improve upon physicality, as is his divine plan. He grants us complex weakness so we might learn metallic strength and ascend to his level of machine perfection.
So they're all becoming the Terminator. Got you.
The Emperor's arrival to Mars was very much a walking in with the pizzas while the room is on fire moment, but to the Mechanicum, they saw his arrival as confirmation of their belief. They took one look at the glowing golden entity that showed up on their doorstep and were like, that's him. That's the guy right there. And they immediately accepted him as the Omnissiah. Obviously, showing up and being called Machine Jesus shortly after wiping out all instances of non-Machine Jesus a little bit beforehand is an instance of capital H heresy. But the Emperor saw the bigger picture. Were they strange with how they rubbed unguents on themselves, burned incense, and prayed to machines for them to work? Sure, but that's a lot of production right there. So the Emperor devised the Treaty of Olympus Mons, a unifying agreement between Terra and Mars. And this union would be permanently etched into the Aquila of the Imperium as the two-headed eagle. One head for Terra, the other for Mars. The forces of the Emperor would be supplied with all the technology and weapons they needed to reunite the scattered remnants of humanity under one banner. And the Mechanicum of Mars would be able to keep doing what they were doing religiously and scientifically so long as they kept up their tithes. This tithe meant total quality control over all technology in the Imperium. Is it a big spaceship? ADVANCEDgg take care of that. Tanks? ADVANCEDgg take care of that. The literal bullets in a gun? You guessed it. But unlike the factories of today, the forge worlds of Mars and the creations of the Mechanicum are a bit of a different experience altogether. Instead of a factory on a random given world, the entirety of the planet's surface is dedicated to manufacturing. But that's a little tricky.
So they do all the machinery right now for them? Like where are we? Imperium? That's where we are, right? They are him?
Isn't it? Considering that the usage of Silica Animus, or AI, is a big no-no, and basically the largest affront to their divine machine god possible. Fortunately, there's a really neat alternative that they've come up with, and that's called a servitor.
They're technically support for the Empire, like mechanical support, technology support. But then you guys said that they're not innovating, so they're just like, I guess, mechanicus. They're actually just like mechanics. They're just fixing and continuing what is already out there, but they're not moving outside of that box to create some ungodly, holy creation, right? Like they're just there. They're actually, like you guys said, the supporting, I guess, like a supporting faction to what's happening out here.
Incredible devices that can do anything from manufacturing, maintenance, basic door operation, even just float around like a helpful little
they're not
drone.
allowed.
It's an extremely easy process too. All you need to do is take a human who is dying or preferably an enemy of the state, most likely that one, and lobotomize them. And then reprogram their brains to do exactly what they tell you. They even got little baby versions of them. Yay! So now you can rest easy knowing that the entirety of the Imperium, because they outlaw AI and learning new tech is heresy, is run on lobotomized slaves. Whether they deserve it or not is unimportant, and whether they can still keep their consciousness trapped in their own minds is another thing entirely.
System rise, help.
Your incompetence is showing.
Oh, goddamn.
An excerpt from the Servitor Creation Factories. Naked human beings were standing in a switch-packed line between high fences. The manufactorum produced servitors, but it was more akin to an abattoir than a workshop. Every surface was easily cleanable. Servitors with spray units surgically attached to their backs prowled about, hosing filth from slit drains set into the
Jeez.
perfectly smooth, slanted floors. As the line slowly advanced, the people were passed through various scanning devices, most of them mounted in ugly, functional arches that let out a constant series of acceptance chimes. Occasionally, one would let out an angry blare, and the indicator lumens would flash red. The rejected person was then swallowed up by a trapdoor opening beneath their feet. From these pits wafted a hideous stench and the grinding sounds of industrial mincers. One rejected man grabbed onto the lip and hung there, arms and hands bloodied, shouting a stream of defiant profanities. Guards lined the grating either side of him and shocked him until he fell. The adepts wouldn't even waste bullets on these people. The trapdoor flipped up, and the next terrified person was ushered forward. Violent metal arms snatched them up and spread-eagled them in the air, and a servitor shearer shaved them all over. At another, they were subjected to a high-pressure counterseptic wash whose chemical stink made me choke from 100 feet away. More scanners, more rejects winnowed out. Machines forcibly dressed them in a heavy rubberized garment common to all monotask servitors. These were saggy on them, all one size, until another process shrank them to fit their bodies, where metal cuffs, sockets, and collars bit into vulnerable flesh. The last few prayers gave way to screams at that point, and even the most stoic shouted in pain. They were ushered over a floor, buzzing with power that made them shriek with every footstep. What's that for? I asked. Follicular inhibitor, to stop their hair from growing, he said. Freaking sweet, Lois. As for
the thing is, after the whole AI war, a lot of technology knowledge was lost, and their beliefs tell them that all knowledge already exists. So instead of innovating, they scoured the galaxy in search of lost blueprints. Jesus Christ, they have no mercy. What? I guess that's one way to make everyone a machine person.
Scientific pursuits, the Mechanicum believe in the preservation of knowledge above all and the quest to expand it. However, as opposed to just innovating and inventing on their own with their vast technological know-how, they believe that it is a form of tech heresy. You see, because of their religious viewpoints on technology itself, they believe that the instruction booklet itself is just as holy as the Lego set it builds, and to innovate on that without the proper written knowledge is to go against the divine word of the machine god itself. All knowledge is already in the universe. You simply need to rediscovering it and attempting to invent something to improve upon divinity is very heretical. Prior to the age of strife, humanity
okay. I know that they weren't chill dudes. I know that, but like I thought they were like somewhat chill dudes. And then he read that paragraph to me, and now I realize they're not chill at all.
Humanity was able to populate the stars with devices known as standard template constructs, or STCs. These devices were, as far as we know, supercomputers with the ability to pull up and detail how to create literally anything a startup colony would need. Essentially, they were devices with the entirety of human technological know-how so that you could make a home away from home. The Mechanicum will not make anything without an STC. Quite literally nothing, because this is the knowledge they seek, and that knowledge is divine. One time, scouts of the Imperial Guard found a functioning STC that provided the schematics on a knife that happened to be a bit lighter and a bit sharper than most other knives. These knives were adopted by 30 Space Marine chapters and were one of the most advanced discoveries of the century. This discovery was so significant that they were each awarded a planet for finding this. A planet for a machine that taught them how to make knives. Due to their religious organization, you can probably guess the Mechanicum are organized in a feudal structure with the highest individuals in power being a part of the priesthood. Cream of the crop being the fabricator general of Mars itself, who serves as a high lord of Terra, but also oversees the entirety of the Mechanicum below. Below them are tech priests that oversee the cult for the quest of knowledge and other more straightforward theocracy. Forge worlds tend to operate slightly more independently, Unfortunately, what can cause some power struggles within the Mechanicum, because, you know, despite them all being weird robots, they love being given praise. And despite being the manufacturing end of the Imperium, they do actually have their own military forces. They have the Skitarii Private Army and all their various 1920s Martian-style mechanisms like Doom Crawlers, Castellan robots, and of course, the Titan Legions. Because nothing is cooler than a robot that towers over buildings. Ultimately, their very dogmatic view on technology as a whole has resulted in any innovation becoming absent, thus causing the Imperium to stagnate as a whole. The lack of ambition to create anything new and the wholesale murder of anyone who even tries leads to things becoming derelict. I grow weary of this flesh I was born into, strangely disgusted by its nature. I crave only the cold, clean certainty of steel and silicon, that I might become one with the blessed machine.
Only the cold, clean
I do not expect you to understand, you who cling to your flesh as if it were immortal, seeking only to preserve it, to protect it. One day you will see the folly of your ways, and then no doubt you will come begging to my order to preserve you. After the groundwork had been set unification-wise, it was time to start
he just called Yo and he said, sorry that you're flesh and you're gonna be gone one day, disappear one day. I'm still going to be here in my mechanical body, so you can approach me if you want, but have fun. Good luck.
Things together for the Emperor's great crusade across the stars to bring humanity under one banner. The Thunder Warriors were a perfect fighting force for unifying Terra and Luna, but the galaxy was a whole different thing. You see, these warriors weren't soldiers in the eyes of the Emperor. They were tools, extremely blunt tools used for the fast conquest of Terra. As the Emperor was concerned, the tools you use at home aren't the same ones you take on a road trip. So the Emperor rid himself of his tools in the exact manner you think he did. And he went forward to crafting a brand new tool. One more mobile, more efficient, and ready for his next era of conquest. They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me. Like clay, I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war,
this Emperor crazy.
They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armor shall I clad them, and with the mightiest guns will they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. No sickness will blight them. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines so that no foe can best them in battle. They will be...
So they're like a super soldier.
My bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my soul.
What?
And they shall know no fear. The vastness of the Milky Way galaxy meant that the Emperor needed assistance bringing everyone back to the fold. And who better to do this than himself? But since the technology to be in many places at once does not exist anymore, the Emperor decided that it was time to become a dad, the same way Geppetto did, and with far less care. It is not my son, Archon. None of them are. They are warlords, generals, tools bred to serve a purpose, just as legions were bred to serve a
tool
purpose.
In the war.
What a dad. The Primarch Project was started to create charismatic and unique leaders in the Imperial military. The diversity of these eventual leaders meant that each one could be specialized for certain circumstances across the galaxy. Depending on the type of conflict, one leader might be better than the other. So instead of forcing one leader to acclimate to a situation directly, it would be better to send a specialized leader and force to handle it. In order to do this, the Emperor used his genetic know-how and maybe a little bit of that forbidden stuff to create these genetically perfect gene fathers that had the ability to serve as his analog directly, and also serve as the leaders of the respective Space Marine legions. All 20, all 18, that's...
I was about to say there is redacted legions. I do remember that. There's not 20, there's redacted.
Right, all 19 of his sons were meant to be directly molded by the Emperor himself, despite their genetic differences. And they go as follows in order.
Here we
Lionel
go.
Johnson, Fulgrim, Perturabo, Jagatai Khan, Lehman Russ, Rogel Dorn, Conrad
You know what? I like them.
Ferris Manus,
The variety.
Engron, Robute Gilliman, Mortarion, Magnus the Red, Horus Lupercal, Lorgar Aurelian, Vulcan, Corvus Corax, and Alfarius and Omegon. His sons, finalized and crafted to be the warriors he needed them to be, were complete. But he may have decided to do a bit of dabbling with things he shouldn't have. and paid a price. Before the Primarchs were
You know what? No way.
ready to go, an intervention by the gods of chaos prevented his plan from being completed as intended. Though the sources vary, the ultimate result of the Chaos God intervention was that all of the Emperor's tools were scattered throughout the galaxy at unknown places and times. Each one of his sons ended up in a completely different world, and instead of being able to directly influence their upbringing, these children were instead forced to experience the unique nature of their respective homeworlds. Some had a great time and lived in...
I was about to say some probably had the blast and had the time of their life, and others were just put into the depths of hell.
general luxury. Others, not so much. Despite his closest advisor, Malkador the Sigillite, saying, "All right, Chief, let's try this one again," the Emperor sensed each of his sons were still very much alive, and one of the primary objectives of the Great Crusade shifted to reclaiming each of his sons so they could take command of their specific Space Marine legions and carry out his will. These original Space Marine legions that were created alongside their Primarchs go in order: the
Here
Dark
we go.
Angels, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, White Scars, Space Wolves, Imperial Fists, Night Lords, Blood Angels, Iron
That must be
Hands,
his favorite
World
faction.
Eaters, Ultramarines, Death Guard,
Maybe.
Thousand Sons, Luna
least
Wolves,
favorite.
eventually Sons of Horus, the Word Bearers, Salamanders, Raven Guard, and the Alpha Legion. Space Marines, unlike their gene fathers, the Primarchs are not made in a vat. There is a process to recruit more members from humanity itself, which seems a bit strange considering how massive a Space Marine is compared to a normal man, but don't forget, the Emperor is really good with genetics.
Yes.
Less good with anesthetic, however. These
And we have, I remember, I think it's 2 that's redacted, right? From the last video I watched about this for the Space Marines.
Prospects.
We have no information about them. You guys just said that they were lost forever.
are recruited across humanity from various reasons and methods, and are generally killed during that process. But sometimes they aren't, and they are able to go through more and more of the actual training to assess certain traits that are important and relevant to being a Space Marine. Most of the time, the common factor is a pure, unrelenting willingness to kill the enemies of the Imperium. After going through psychological screening, the prospect, now called a neophyte, goes under the knife to become a Space Marine. And here is a quick list of all the cool new stuff they get genuinely shoved into their bodies. A secondary heart, an organ that makes your bones grow, an organ that makes your muscles
they get so
big,
much.
an implant that makes your blood stronger, a little organ that turns your white blood cells into super white blood cells, a brain implant that allows you to sleep while being awake, a pre-stomach that allows you to digest literally anything, a spinal implant that allows you to absorb the genetic memories
So the Emperor created all these people, all these leaders, sent them all to different planets. They all have like their own legions or whatever you want to call them, Space Marines, right? But who were they before? The Thunder people? Were the Thunder people like an experiment to see how successful Space Marines could be? I feel like in this timeline or in this faction explanation, he was like, bam, we have Thunder people, and then nothing. They're just gone. And then we have Space Marine people. I don't know. That they were both experiment and rush job. Oh. Were a Terra. They were okay, they were experiment. Okay. Sorry. Also, I apologize. I shouldn't apologize. I asked so many questions, but that's kind of how I learn things. And that's why I want to watch with you guys here in chat instead of watching on my own time. Because you guys can actually explain it to me better. As well as like the YouTube comments, feel free to timestamp anything I said and like explain it also to me. But I know I paused a lot, but I'm trying to understand it because it is a massive franchise and there's a lot of information. And so I apologize if this isn't your flow of things, but I'm learning and that's important.
What you eat, bigger and better lungs that can let you breathe underwater, an implant that gives you stronger eyes, new ears that keep you from being dizzy, a brain implant that lets you go into suspended animation.
They got like literally everything, every enhancement you could have ever wanted. Space sunscreen,
a brand new kidney, the ability to taste the air and find enemies like a bloodhound, a special coating on your skin that allows you to be protected in space,
I need that.
the ability to spit
sunscreen
acid,
permanently.
a gland that allows you to absorb the unique genetic makeup from the gene seed in the first place, and a straight-up carapace that allows the Space Marine to interface with their power armor directly. Quite often, these are put inside of you at dubious levels of mental
Wait,
alertness
so you don't
and
know?
dubious levels of anesthetic. After a more generalized indoctrination into the faith of the Imperium and a bit more training and other important manners, they can finally be welcomed as a fully fledged Space Marine. A Space Marine is quite literally a walking tank that is armed to the teeth. Two of the more iconic weapons held by a Space Marine are their bolt gun, which fires explosive shells the size of soda cans, and a chain sword, which is...
That sounds lit.
The Space Marine is clad in a colorful carapace known as power armor, crafted from extremely heavy and durable ceramite. The power armor of a Space Marine protects him from any terrors he may face, be it the void of space itself to an inhospitable atmosphere. This armor, combined almost biologically with an already massive physique, makes the Space Marine an almost unstoppable fighting force. And hell, if the armor doesn't protect them enough, they can always become a walking coffin like the dreadnoughts of the chapters are. What truly adds to it all, however, is the sheer difference in some of them. While a Space Marine in its own right is an indoctrinated freight train on legs, how they act can be quite different from chapter to chapter. The gene seed of a Primarch is not just helping them become big and strong, but allows them to gain certain traits from their forefathers. Everything from how they think to even slightly adjusting their physical appearance once it's been implanted, the gene seed can be the personality of an entire Space Marine. Take the Salamanders, for example. Salamanders have a predisposition to fire as a whole, and tend to be extremely large due to the size of their Primarch, Vulcan, and his enormous stature. Whereas someone like Sanguinius, Primarch of the Blood Angels, share more vampiric features and more angel-like qualities. A gene seed is not just aspects of the Primarchs, but they are also flaws too. Magnus the Red and his 1,000 Sons underwent something known as the Flesh Change, a horrifying mutation that, while it made them strong psychers, would affect their bodies so terribly that they would mutate away from humanity. Where other factions have inspiration for their culture from our real world, like the feudal Japanese of the Eldar or Egyptian style the Necrons, each Space Marine chapter themselves carry an inspiration. The White Scars are motorcycle riding Mongolian fighters. The Space Wolves are Norse Vikings. The Dark Angels are Knights of the Round Table, and so on. This moves into their fighting style, and truthfully, there is no end to the characters and options when it comes to the Space Marines.
I think that's one nice thing about the Space Marines is that there is no end, and they are vastly different from like Legion to Legion. You can find new and exciting things with each like Legion you hop over into.
The main symbol you see, and while many of them can be simply indoctrinated warriors who only care about conflict and can be quite boring, then you meet Dante, or Bjorn, or Argel Tal,
or any of them,
or Lucius, or Erebus. And then you discover the wealth of these characters and tools of war you can have. For 1,100 years, I have fought and I have seen the darkness in our galaxy. I have seen the vileness of the alien and the heresy
we don't like Erebus.
I have witnessed the sin of possession, and I have seen all the evil that the galaxy harbors, and I have slain all whose presence defiles the Emperor. I have seen what you will see. I have fought.
I mean, that's how the Emperor got possession over everything anyways. It was known that he did slay people who didn't listen to him.
But you must fight, and I have slain what you must slay. So fear not and be proud, for we are the sons of Sanguinius, the protectors of mankind. We are indeed the angels of death. Despite being the poster children for Warhammer 40k as a whole, the presence of a Space Marine is a rare sight for the countless trillions of humans across the galaxy. Seeing one of these monstrosities is like seeing something akin to an angel sent by the Emperor himself. These angels of death are the essential fighting force to bring humanity back under the unified banner of the Imperium. Yet ultimately, the Space Marines are individuals torn from their families and conscripted to genetic modification and lifelong service for the dying Imperium. And though they are held in an almost holy light, most believe they are above and beyond the people they are designed to serve. Once designed as the protectors of humanity, they seldom view humanity as something worth saving. to the extent that it is a tiny, minute rarity, though not unheard of, for a Space Marine to put a normal citizen above them in any way. For most Space Marines and even their Primarchs, they are only here to do a job. They are there to kill the enemies of humanity, and I would be remiss if I didn't add at least one more of my favorite quotes to the tail end of this section.
I like these quotes.
The time for speeches is done, said Rogel Dorn. The first great test is here. My order to you all is simple, yet heed it well, and exert yourselves to see it done. They are coming. Kill them all.
Oh,
While the Space Marines are the spearhead of the Imperium's Great Crusade and also a major player in its warfare, there is a significant amount of importance that must be taken on their transport.
Okay.
What sci-fi universe would be complete without its navy? When you think of the navy or ships on the open sea, you think of something that
yeah, but we're talking about Warhammer, so these ships are about to be cracked out of this, like, out of this world.
Sleek, something mobile, and something pretty big.
Not in Warhammer.
The longest self-propelled ship in history was the TTC-Wise Giant, an oil tanker that was about 458 meters long or over about 1,500 feet. This right here is child's play in the world of 40K ships.
Yes.
A ship that is considered to be an escort vessel in the Imperium is about 3 times the size of a Sea-Wise Giant, and the size of the ships only go up from there. Your most common ships are the cruisers. The light cruiser tends to average at about 2 kilometers long, or just over a mile in length, where the Dictator class cruisers can be over 3 kilometers or 2 miles in length. The largest ships are your battleships, and they are tremendous. We're talking 5-mile long, half a mile high monstrosities.
Imagine having, well, I guess maybe it's all automatic in the world of Warhammer, but I was like, imagine having to drive this or to navigate this, to be the captain of the ship. Like, god damn, that's so big.
That look like gigantic Gothic cathedrals and filled to the brim with weaponry. And not only are they filled with weapons, but they are also jam-packed with crewmen. Battleships tend to, on average, carry a crew between several thousand to several million. And they need every single one of those members because we don't have advanced technology for other things to pilot themselves or control themselves in a meaningful way because there's no AI. A lot of this stuff has to be done manually. Even the reloading of those giant batteries is a form of manual labor. And of course, generally speaking, gliding through the stars is a very slow way to do things. And let's be honest, there can't be a science fiction setting without some form of hyperspace travel. This form of travel in 40K is less like going to Plaid in Spaceballs and more like going into Davy Jones' zipper dimension in SpongeBob.
Stop. Not Davy Jones' zipper dimension. Yo, thank you so much for the super on YouTube. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, now what? I suppose you're gonna show me. Oh, gee, that's very nice.
Oh,
what is
geez.
this, some kind of magic act?
SpongeBob's a classic. This is a classic.
This is because it utilizes the immaterial warp to do so. Warp travel is handled by a navigator, which is an abhuman. It's a mutated human, don't worry about it. And they have a gene that gives
What do you mean don't worry about it? What if I want to worry about it?
them a third eye and the ability to help steer the ship through the warp, which, as we know, is hell itself and unreality. Now, this might sound exceptionally dangerous, and that's because it is. Now, the ship does have protection in the form of a Geller field, though. Originally, I assumed the Geller field is what you think it is, a large force field stopping all manner of horrible things, like demons from the warp tearing apart your ship. How wrong I was, though. So space travel through the warp basically involves riding on the Sea of Souls. Hell is real and you can surf on it. So you allow the current to carry you and the navigator to direct. But how can a current of souls and unreality carry you when it doesn't obey the laws of physics, time, or, again, reality? What a Geller field is not a force field, but a comatose imperial psyker dreaming of reality. It is not a bubble.
What?
It is a force of reality being projected by mutant sleeping beauty to counteract the unreality of the warp.
So then if your mutant sleeping beauty, aka your psyker, dies and you're trying to warp, are you a goner? There's no coming back? You don't warp? You're dead?
That you can then surf on. This, of course, is not a foolproof method of travel, and Geller fields
you know what? That's a good word, chat. You're effed. Yes, correct.
can and do collapse fairly regularly. Being
Oh.
subjected to the warp itself without this Geller
Wow.
field is a terrifying prospect.
Oh, there
In
it
the
is right
best
there.
case scenario, your ship will be torn to shreds. But there are countless instances of ships being thrown out of the warp randomly throughout time
Wow.
itself. You leave for a 2-day mission and you come back 90 years in the past. Maybe you feel like you're lost in the warp for a century and it's only been 45 minutes.
Jesus.
And that is only if the waves of souls don't rip your ship apart or have demons arrive on it to do unspeakable things to the crew. The
Demons!
Imperial Navy is an astronomically powerful force for the Imperium because the sheer volume of ships and guns on those ships create firepower that can sunder planets.
So
this is all
we just willingly use the warp because it's our fastest way to do movement within the galaxy, even though it's like one of the highly dangerous things. Like you take this risk every single time you go into the warp.
juxtaposed with the sheer backwater nature of these ships. While they
Bro, people in 40K are just built different. They're all built different. Built
They are
different.
manned by crews of zealots. They are also operated with such a backwater tech, it completely confuses the reader. You see the long batteries of portside cannons that the ship has, and remember that AI is heresy in this world, and
Yeah.
that all the mechanics are utilized by lobotomized slaves. So how do they load these? Well, they have gun gangs, massive
what?
gangs of hundreds of people manually loading these cannons. These are genuine gun loader gangs that get into gang wars and squabbles. On the
What?
ship's bridge, you may find the captain himself hardwired directly into the ship's chair permanently to control it the best they can.
So the captain, that's just captain. You get appointed captain, you're cooked. You're there for life. I like the analogy that you guys are using in chat, telling me that it's like the Nether in Minecraft, because that makes sense. That makes sense. I see.
Screens
Dangerous.
of hololith data fill the room, and sensors across the ship are just as likely to tell you information as a serf running up to you with a scroll of parchment is. You reach to a microphone to shout orders down a hallway as paper readouts tell you information of the enemy, and holy sigils and candlelit incense burners gleam your next move. While the
We got
is not a
more.
specific faction of the Imperium in the same sense and format
Ship?
of this video,
Ship?
it is what shepherds
Ship.
around the entirety of its armed forces. Every Space Marine Primarch had a flagship, and every strike cruiser and battle barge has a story to tell. But if there is a single thing that the Shield of the Navy does the best, it is to help support and supply the monumental forces of the Imperium. The hammer of the Emperor himself, the uncountable men and women of the...
I love these like epic cuts.
I don't care if these things have adapted to
here we
resist
go.
our las guns. If we can't kill them with our rifles, then we'll kill them with heavy bolters. And if we can't kill them with heavy weapons,
my
we'll
gosh.
use grenades.
We'll use
And if
everything.
grenades don't work, then we'll fight them with our swords and our knives and our bare hands.
They said we
We'll
ain't giving
drown
up.
them in our blood. That's what it means to be a soldier of the Imperial Guard. Now follow me.
Oh my gosh, I like them.
Sarge. There is no better symbol of the might of the Imperium itself than the Astra Militarum, or as it is commonly known, the Imperial Guard. Though the Space Marines
Yeah.
take the glory and stand as the visual representation of the Imperium, their numbers are dramatically thin and specialized in comparison. To reclaim 1,000,000 worlds, you need a countless number of troops willing to fight and die for your cause. The Imperial Guard represents the Imperial truth made manifest. Every year, the worlds of the Imperium pay a tithe in the form of soldiers to fight the good fight of the Emperor, and this
Oh my
number
goodness.
is impossible to pin down. Even saying
1
billions
gajillion.
would be a dramatic understatement. The sheer volume of soldiers serves as the fundamental backbone of the Imperium. 99.9% of battles fought by the Imperium are fought by the sundering might of the Imperium.
99.9. They are your backbone, huh? So you're not fighting without an Imperial army behind you.
Imperial Guard. With the knowledge that
Yeah.
Space Marines are essentially sentient tanks, what do the members of the Imperial Guard have? If they're the might of the Emperor himself, are they not suited up in a similar way? No, not really. No fancy suits, no biological...
Yeah, these guys are the ones that get the heck in there, and they're always there. They're always dominant, prevalent in the fight. But unfortunately, like your space legions are like, we're the cool shiny people. And then you have these guys, the Imperial Guard, doing all the dirty work. They all do dirty work. I do know that. Like, they all have their own rules and they all perform their own rules differently. But you just have the Imperial Guard in such a large, vast of numbers doing these coordinated like attacks.
Enhancements and basically no expectation.
That's why they are the
to
backbone.
live. Once a regiment of guard are activated, they are sent directly into battle with almost no expectations that they will survive. This is because
so they're expendable. You do not give an F about them. You just create. I guess you just keep creating Imperial Guards. You lose half of your Imperial. You're never going to lose half of your Imperial Guard. You lose 0.05% of your Imperial Guard, and you're just like, well, we're just going to go replace that 0.05%.
Despite their training, their incredibly powerful armor, and extremely strong weapons that would crush any army of the modern day, they are so hopelessly outmatched to the things they will face. Sending a member of the guard is throwing a rock at a nuclear bomb. However, where they lack in advancement, they make up for in sheer numbers, and their overwhelming force can be the difference maker in any deployment they face. Quantity is a quality all its own. If they do happen to survive, they will be sent to the next battle, and so on.
Yep,
seldom do members of the Astra Militarum get old or retire, and those that do are truly to be feared. There's an old saying that the average lifespan of a guardsman is about 15 hours from deployment, and considering the sheer number of guardsmen out there in any given battle, that number is probably accurate. When several million of your pool of guardsmen die within the first few hours of combat because the orcs threw a moon at you, it can really screw the number.
Bro, I'm sorry. I love the orcs. We love the big green dudes.
The soldiers of the guard are conscripted and trained on an incredible number of worlds in the Imperium, and these worlds can impact their training and their combat style directly. The most famous visually are the Cadian shock troops.
Why are we crying?
But other notable guard factions include the gas mask clad death corps of Krieg, the Rambo level of Catachan jungle fighters, and the iron willed Mordian Iron Guard. This also helps them specialize against individual types of enemies. The Indigan Prefects are a special guard regiment that came from a planet whose planetary governor, the leader of the planet, thought it was fun to collect exotic animals, which then
Acadia was destroyed, and that's why we're crying. Okay.
Crossbreed, and then became the giant freight train-sized monsters destroying the planet. So the Indigan Prefects are specialized for big monsters. Hello, Tyranids. One particularly interesting officer in the Guard is the enforcement officer known as the Commissar, and they are one of the more visually striking members of a regiment. These are specialized Imperial officers and act as morale officers. But instead of singing songs to the troops and providing hot meals, the Commissars are there to make sure that the members of the regiment continue to fight to the bitter end. If a soldier does not meet the standards of the Commissar, the solution is simple. There are trillions of other soldiers out there. We don't really need you. Combat fatigue? Headshot.
Damn.
Concerns about the conflict? Headshot. Fleeing the battlefield?
I mean, a lot of them are not living probably long enough to even fight against it, right? Like, a lot of the 15 hours is your life in a combat. They're not living that long.
That's a headshot. Considering these officers tend to be outside of their regiment, feelings on them can be mixed. And in fairness, certain commissars, like the esteemed Ibram Gaunt or Caiaphas Cain, tend to do a bit better with the whole people talking part. Because if, say, you were trying to tell a beefed up Catachan jungle fighter what to do, you might take a mysterious leave of absence inside a carnivorous plant. But no matter what I say, I don't think I can truly convey the sheer might of the Imperial Guard, so I'm gonna get a visual aid. Let's take a look at this image right here, right? Yeah. This is the cover of the 9th edition Codex for the Astra Militarum, the official cover art. Your eyes may be drawn to the dark and brutal looks of some of the main members on the front and the gigantic orc they are attacking, but zoom out a little bit. There is no floor. There is only people, and behind those people are tanks, and behind those tanks are flying artillery shells. There are two enormous transport ships in the sky, and their ramps are down, and on their ramps are more people. The Imperium is described as having 1 million worlds. 1 million worlds, and each one of them gives soldiers to the Imperial Guard for the tithe. On a given battlefield, in a given fight, Foot soldiers number in the millions, tanks in the tens of thousands, and you have enough artillery to turn the night sky day. You have walkers and APCs and aircraft and horse
You have
cavalry and tanks the
All the
size
above.
of apartment buildings.
Jeez.
You have drop troops and spec ops and rattling snipers and gigantic ogres that can't count to 4, but they can turn you into 4 pieces. And it just doesn't end. Humanity is a horde army, but instead of a horde of bugs or rampaging orcs, it's a living wall of guns. At the end of the day,
terrifying.
though he's been ferried through hell on a ship that's 10,000 years old to some godforsaken war-torn rock, though he deployed from high orbit with nothing but a grav chute, though he is one of 10 million men and women snatched from his homeworld to fight a war he barely understands, though he has been given a weapon that fires small suns and may annihilate him as he fires because the knowledge of how it functions has been lost, though his company is supported by tractor tanks that run on anything you can burn, though he wages war against the devouring hive mind, ravenous demons and hordes of hyper-advanced aliens with strange technologies and sorceries he never dreamed existed. No one will remember his sacrifice. There will be no records of his deeds, no glorious parades in his honor, and no remembrance of his name. All he will earn is a shallow, unmarked grave on a forgotten world untold light years from home. Yet for all this thankless sacrifice, a guardsman is a man, just like you. He has no millennia-old genetic engineering, no prophetic leader, no miracles of faith. He has his lasgun, his orders, and those beside him. He is the Imperial Guard, and he will hold the line. In the end, the Astra Militarum, despite fighting for the honor of the Imperium, are their own form of a massive horde army where individuality does not matter. They are merely numbers to the Imperium, and the vast majority of the conflicts they are sent to are attrition-based battles that gain virtually no ground while countless millions die. Yet this makes them the most human. For the Imperial Guard contains normal people, people who are happy and sad, people who laugh and love, and in there are stories, because there is strength in facing the horrors of the universe head on with nothing but a rifle in your hands and a prayer on your lips. Armed with an innumerable amount of Imperial soldiers and Space Marines, the Navy begins its great crusade into the stars to rescue the stranded Primarchs and reunite them to their legions. But the biggest question needed to be asked was, what would they find? The age of strife lasted for thousands of years. If a civilization was still alive out there in the galaxy, what would they be like? The technological advancements of humanity prior to and during the Dark Age technology was unfathomable. It allowed them to spread through the galaxy with ease and allowed them to settle once inhospitable planets. These branches of humanity were provided with the vast knowledge of human creations and
imagine if you didn't have like any of the Imperial Guards, how different the Warhammer universe would be. Also, welcome in, Lily. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you had a wonderful stream. Welcome in, raiders.
Given gigantic machines to make arduous labor and ease. The spreading of these massive colony ships was known as the Long March, and these ships would be retrofitted into settlements upon arrival to their new homes. Accompanying them were the gigantic pieces of farm equipment that served multiple purposes and the specialized pilots that could maintain them. They were not only able to tend the fields and do labor, but when interstellar communication was cut off, they also did a great job of protecting the colonists against both threats demonic.
Yeah, I think all these Imperial deserve a medal. You give them all a gold star. I know they won't last long. You give them all a gold star, though. The Imperial Guard deserves a gold star.
Because of the significance of these machines, those that could pilot them were powerful enough to be considered leaders, and the upkeep and preservation of the machines and the lineage of those who could pilot them was imperative. These machines, over the thousands of years, would eventually be known as the
Imperial Knights. Evolution,
He must
guys.
be humble of heart, strong of arm, be savage in war, loyal to hearth, and follow deeds of glory. He must keep honor with all, banish cowardice from his doings, and bring his house no shame. He must serve the emperor and defend the Imperium, thus should a knight rule himself. The Age of Strife caused these colonized worlds to be cut off from the Imperium, and the reversion of these worlds resulted in the reverence for this farm equipment turned feudal. And the leadership that controlled the devices became viewed as a noble.
I must say, they're pretty freaking creative with transforming the technology, because they don't, like, right? turning their farm equipment into these Imperial Knights. Like, they get pretty flippin' creative out here.
Hierarchy. During the Age of Strife, exploratory fleets from Mars found plenty of these worlds, and it seemed the majority of them reverted to a similar state. Like King Arthur seeing Merlin himself, these feudal worlds welcomed the tech priests of Mars with open arms. The mutual relationship between the ADVANCEDgg and the nobility was beneficial. The ADVANCEDgg were able to secure more worlds for mining resources and potentially long-lost STC information, and the noble houses were provided with technological know-how and modifications from the ADVANCEDgg themselves. The suits became more and more specialized, and their history as mere pieces of equipment were lost to time. What was once a tractor became a killdozer, and the Imperial Knights were born. Unlike other military aspects in the Imperium, the nobility of the Knight houses remains just that, a nobility-focused feudal hierarchy that swears fealty to either the Mechanicum or to Terra. Like the Knights in our history, once they swear fealty, they can be called to aid their respective allegiance in the heat of battle. The ones that swear fealty to Terra are led by the High Monarch, while the ones with the Mechanicum are led by the Princeps. The ones with Terra might be sent directly to the front line of war, while the ones with the Mechanicum tend to be sent to protect the Forge world. And the heraldry of these houses is what you'd expect from a generic history of knights. Houses pledging allegiances here and there, your run-of-the-mill War of the Roses aesthetic. Except instead of ponies, you have gigantic death machines. These knights can—
Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I think gigantic death machines are a little cooler than having ponies.
It's to be piloted by any old person, however. A member of the nobility of any given knight house must go through the ritual of becoming. This ritual involves them sitting on the device used to control the knight, known as the Throne Mechanicum, for a full night. What's wrong with that? I mean, sitting in a chair for a full evening sounds pretty great right about now. So a pilot cannot drive a knight. They can, but it moves about as effective as Ripley from Aliens 2, big, lifter thing.
So you're just in it. You're just there.
A beast that must be controlled, and a pilot must merge with it. The mind of the noble is connected to the machine and must fight with the mental signatures and personalities of the prior pilots as well. Everything a knight experiences in battle is felt by the pilot themselves, be it the general movement in the battlefield or damage sustained by the machine itself. If a knight's leg is blown off in battle, the pilot could experience a broken bone in the same spot. The merging to the machine forever changes the mentality of the noble that experiences it. This connection reinforces a strong degree of nobility and honor in the pilot, and a desire to fight for the glory of their house until the bitter end, as their ancestors' minds are linked directly to the knight. The size of these knights can vary, but generally speaking, they stand in the ballpark of 30 to 50 feet tall and are protected by a thick adamantium armor. Beyond that, they have their own unique ion shield generators that give them added protection, and when it comes to their looks, the most common pattern across the Imperium is the Questoris pattern.
I like the look. I like the
one
pattern.
You're probably
That's
thinking
a cool
about
look
right now. But there are also smaller versions like armatures and bigger ones known as the Dominus. As for a loadout, these guys are essentially a violent Mr. Potato Head. Battle cannons, Gatling cannons, heavy flamers, thermal cannons.
Not Mr. Potato Head.
A gigantic chainsword or a straight up gauntlet. And for that empty spot up top, screw it. More autocannons, maybe add some missiles. Whatever you can do to make it as over the top as possible, you gotta do it. A squire serves a knight serves a lord serves a baron, and a baron serves a monarch. So who does the monarch serve? He serves every subject, from the rudest serf to the members of the court.
Everyone.
Chivalric fealty, when ideally practiced, is not a pyramid, but a circle. Ironically, on the surface, night worlds themselves are one of the least grim dark settings in the galaxy. Reverting to an ancient time with knights and peasants is almost an escapism from the techno hell of the modern Imperium. But this, of course, doesn't make it great for everyone.
No,
it sounds fun on paper to play a game of knights, but it's not so fun when you're the peasant of that world. For the knights themselves, the knights give their entire lives to the Throne Mechanicum, and their reality is not their own, as they have to hear the voices of thousands of generations of their ancestors controlling their actions.
Oh, sorry. That'd be terrifying. Not terrifying. You're used to it. You're going to be equipped for it. Just listening and listening though, like,
and their
oh.
lives for as long as they live. It's a strange dichotomy. When it comes to Warhammer, most to all jobs tend to be terrible. However, if there was one that could be considered enjoyable, it would be the pilot of a knight or a princeps of their larger
One's
cousins.
enjoyable?
While it does contain an egregious amount of hardship to be a knight pilot, you do enjoy a wealth of privilege. A knight pilot is often an asshole who can back it up. The rich noble that, despite his braggadocious behavior, is still very much him, and he will continue to be him. But knights are not the only thing that the Imperium found lost in the stars during their Great Crusade. Due to the circumstances of the Age of Strife, humans were changing and adapting to their new homes they were now isolated on. Some of these humans evolved over thousands of years to adapt to these areas, and they were known as abhumans. Many abhumans found their way into the Imperial Guard or other lesser positions in the Imperium if they were not wiped out immediately for being too different from their human counterparts. But their abilities and appearance vary from planet to planet, and one part.
It's so iconic that if you don't fit the stature of what they're going for, they just kill you. If you're not part of their plan, instead of dealing with you, they're like, yeah, you know what, you're out of here. We're unaliving you from this server. Bye bye.
Particular group of abhumans have made quite a name for themselves in the center of the galaxy,
AKA the kin.
The origins of what will be known as the kin start at some point during the Dark Age technology, where their ancestors left a planet that is very much Terra and went to the galactic core to mine it of its resources. They brought along with them everything that they would need for a long-term stay, most important of which were the incredible AI-based supercomputers. Be it guidance, technical or philosophical, schematics, or the ability to upload the memories of a deceased explorer to gather information from them, these computers became an essential part of their everyday life, especially considering that the galactic core is one of the most inhospitable places in the galaxy. It is an exceptionally star-dense location, full of abnormalities, black holes, and sentient hostile nebula. Whatever that last part means, it is not a safe and easy place to make a living, and this only got worse thanks to the warp storms during the Age of Strife. In order to adapt to this area, these travelers perfected a genetic makeup that made their future clones to be more adept to the area. These future clones would be shorter and more robust than their ancestors, and the need to procreate would be unnecessary because why risk messing up a good employee when you can just make a new one? These would be known as the squats, and they would all die, except for when they didn't.
Wait,
and now
what?
they are known by a different name.
What are they?
Most void-faring races have at least one cautionary tale of foolish explorers vanishing amidst its blazing stellar nurseries and strange anomalies. Yet for the leagues of Votann, the galactic core has been home now for millennia. These squat humanoids would begin to establish themselves in the core, and their goals would be the same as their ancestors. Rock and stone! But
rock
like, actually
and
kinda,
stone.
yeah. Whenever one of them would die, they would know that that sucker would need to be uploaded to the machines like their forefathers did. But the original purpose of these machines was lost to time. What was once a technical resource for them turned into a ritual known as joining the ancestors. And the fact that they were clones at this point meant that the same copy of the same individual would be uploaded countlessly. The sheer overuse of these computers and the repeated uploading of redundant data has turned these once powerful supercomputers into your parents' computer after you installed LimeWire on it, and whose
He's not bringing up LimeWire. He's not bringing up LimeWire. Bro, that's an if you know, you know. Holy shit.
50 Google Chrome tabs
Holy
definitely
shit.
contain information they will return to one day. So
Definitely.
much corruption that these computers began to develop the makings of a personality of their own. These would be known as the Votann, and the kin, this dwarf-like abhuman of humanity, would revere them. The Votann still operate to this day, but the volume of corruption have made anything outside of their very basic functions highly unpredictable. They may not answer a question for centuries at a time, and if they do provide an answer or data, it has become so corrupted and so incongruent that it takes a literal kin wizard to comprehend it. The kin, much like the dwarves of fantasy, exists nowadays as a mercantile species that constantly constantly work to mine and manufacture. However, their capitalistic desires are dangerous. The biggest crimes a kin can face are being lazy, unproductive, and breaking a contract. Stellar conflicts have broken out over hundreds of years due to the breaking of a deal. So if you signed a contract with a kin, you best stick to it. Because of this, the kin have been known to interact with other species in a fairly common manner. This includes humanity, who have met various members of the kin multiple times, but constantly considered them to be all a different species. Famously, the Imperium noted that the kin they referred to as the Squats were their own species and were wiped out by the Tyranids. Little did they know, they were still around. The kin are acutely aware of two things. The first is that the humans of the Imperium are deeply terrified of technology. So the sheer existence of—
Do you blame them? Do you blame the humans of the Imperium being afraid of technology? Do you blame them? No. Valid.
the Voton is
very
a secret
valid,
as well as the truth. This extends also to the Iron Kin, sentient robots that are treated in the same esteem of flesh and blood kin, because kin is kin. The second thing they are aware of is where they're from. They are fairly confident that they are from Terra, and they know that if this secret was to be known by the Imperium, that the Imperium might want to take ownership of them and everything they've built. So the more alien they are, the better. Now, this sounds fine and good, right? What could possibly be wrong with these guys besides the hyper late stage space capitalism? Well, you have to go back to their creation. The kin are an entirely clone-based race made from the computers that are exceptionally difficult to recreate. These machines, the Voton, are becoming more and more unpredictable and derelict. If anything were to happen to these machines, it would be a twofold ending of the kin. New kin cannot be reproduced, reducing their numbers, and the existing kin would have no further purpose because the end that awaits them would be non-existent. The horror of the kin civilization is that the entire purpose of their lives is to do the best they can at their duty and upload all they know to the Voton, their ancestor cores, join their ancestors. But doing so is actually the thing that is killing these supercomputers in the first place. The ancestors were dead, but through the first truths, they're like—
I love Warhammer is like, hey, we're gonna go do this thing, but when we go do this thing, it's gonna ruin everything else that we're doing as well. Oh well, let's still go do it.
Legacy continued, and though their eyes had shut long ago, indeed the ancestors were watching, not with a gaze from eons gone, but with the eyes of every living kin. Each generation was the embodiment of the ancestors cast anew by the Voton. The galaxy changed. Stars died, planets were destroyed, and civilizations fell. But as long as the Voton endured, the ancestors still lived. I do want to end this last bit with an enjoyable quote from one Kim. As you may have assumed, the Leagues of Voton are space dwarves with a corporate sci-fi motif, but they are still very much dwarves. They're squat, they're strong as hell, and they hold serious grudges. This time it's just more about your contracts than anything else. And so because of this, they might treat most things about how you would expect.
Imagine if your faith or reproduction method were the thing that were killing you. Yeah, I think it's like a bittersweet in this world. They're like, yo, we're going to go do this thing and it's going to kill us, but we're still going to continue doing it. And you're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, buddy.
A capitalistic dwarf would treat things. You misunderstand,
capitalistic
human.
dwarf?
I am not here to debate. I am not here to compromise. What you see as yours, I am taking for my kindred.
And like in that past faction with the kin and whatnot, like they kept uploading all their information and then eventually just screwed over themselves with uploading all their information. It's so funny. Like they're just like, I love them, but they each have their individual problems. Like each little legion, each little faction, everything in this has their own individual problems and they never address it. It's just like, that's their problem. They have that problem. They live with that problem. That's just part of what they have. And it's so funny to see the difference among all of them.
You want to bargain? Torek, unholster our means of negotiation. As the Great Crusade continued, humanity would find their missing Primarchs, reestablish the locations of all of their various worlds, and finally reclaim what the Emperor was always hoping for. But eventually, all the Emperor sought to build would be his undoing. His original attempt to have all of the Primarchs lead his great armies and usher humanity into the better ages would end up crumbling down.
Yeah.
And we will learn about how the Imperium backslides and the horror of the modern day of 40K in part 2. I will see you very soon.
I
Thank you so
can't
much for
wait to
watching.
see how more factions screw themselves over in part 2. And thank you, YouTube, so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Remember to like and subscribe for more content from me. I am on the road to 100,000 subscribers, so come in and join in on the journey and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.